Is that any better? Has that worked? Can you hear me now? Okay, right, yeah. It was set to the wrong channel. I was recording stuff previously with two separate channels. Right, gosh. Yeah, sorry about that. Hello. Oh, it's gone night. Okay, fun. How are we all? Yes. It's been a long time. And yeah, if we can look at some Doctor Who fan films later, if you'd like, will. But yeah. So why am I playing Minecraft? I just it'd been on my mind recently. However, you may have noticed I have modded the game a little bit. Basically, the reason for that is I'm like an old school Minecraft player, and I kind of stopped keeping up with the game after about 2013. So a lot of the new mechanics kind of confuse me, to be honest. So this one, it's me. I've made some adjustments to it with some mods to make it a little bit more retro, but to still keep in some of the new stuff. So yeah. But I've no idea what I'm actually doing right now. That whole audio thing really kind of distracted me. I'm gonna sleep first. All right. Well, I'm glad the audio is working. Yeah. I'm surprised people actually tuned in for this. I thought it'd been so long that people would just be like, not even get the notification. But yeah, all good, all good. Hello, sheep. Oh yeah, we can punch sheep again. Do you guys remember punching sheep? Boom. Fun. So yeah, I mean, we can use this time to talk about Doctor Who if we want, or anything else we want to talk about. And if we want to, that's not good. If we want to talk about, or just do something in Minecraft, if you guys have ideas for Minecraft stuff, I don't know. I'm game to just see what we get out of this. Hello. Oh my god, it's Confused Adipose. Holy crap. Hello, man. How are you doing? My thoughts on current Doctor Who. Yes, you can. Just give me 1 sec. I'm just gonna have a drink of water. Yeah, Doctor Who currently. Well, it's not exactly what I'm looking for from the show. In all honesty, it's. I mean, where to start? Like, where do I start? As someone who has been. See, because for me, this doesn't just it doesn't just go back to RTD2. It doesn't even just go back to Chibnall. Like, I've kind of been wanting this show to do something different for like a while now. Like, just I still, there are things I appreciate in both RTD1 and Moffat's era as well. But there are even, there are portions of those where, like Series 3 as a kid is where I started to be like, something's not right. Like, it's gone a bit weird. Like Last of the Time Lords with all like the weird, like the Dobby Doctor stuff, and that like awful like New York like Dalek story, which is when like you can just really feel like the fatigue of the Daleks sitting in. Like around that time, I was there already, kind of a bit like, I feel like Russell's not quite. He's doing weird stuff. And that only got worse in like Series 4. I mean, Series 4 has some great episodes, but I still think that Series 1 is for me the most consistent in terms of quality. Series 2 kind of like swings up and down between some kind of like pretty awkward lows, but not even like the most offensive lows to me, just like some awkward episodes, and then some like pretty solid episodes, and it kind of like goes and then I find like Series 3 and 4, they each have like quite a weak first half, with the exception of like the first episode. And then like they tend to have like they sag in the middle really badly, and then suddenly they have like 2 back-to-back like all-time great episodes in the second half. Like series 3 has Blink and Human Nature, and series 4 has Midnight and the Science of the Library two-parter. So it's real kind of swings back and forth. Or like it's like the latter half of those just contains some of like the best fucking Doctor Who ever made. But then you still have the like I don't like the Sontaran. Oh, worse than the Sontaran two-parter, the Doctor's Daughter. Anyway, I'm meant to be talking about Modern Who, not this. So like I've been waiting for a while. I've been waiting for a while to want to enjoy this show, and at this point, it just feels like the cloth of my patience has been wrung dry. Like I have waited so long, and the show just keeps screwing around with weird, pointless crap that like I'm not at all interested in. Like I'm not interested in Timeless Child, but I'm really not interested in the weird, like super hyper continuity heavy finales we've been getting, and some of like the vibe of the series right now. It feels like I've called RTD2 sweetened condensed New Who on many occasions, because it's like all the tropes from every era of New Who, like the excessive canon and continuity of Chibnall, the clever clogs timey-wimey plotting of Moffat with series arcs, and then the sort of like RTD like overindulgent sort of melodrama, and it's coated it in this awful like sickly sweet saccharine edge of everyone's just really really like twee and like chummy, and everything's really overindulgent and like everyone loves each other and everyone smothers each other in affection. I sound like a proper jaded asshole, but it's just it's like and there's no time, there's not enough time. Like the episodes don't make time to let things breathe, so it's condensed, it's sweetened, and it's New Who. It's all of the tropes that I didn't want from New Who jammed into one like hyper package. And it's not to say that there are merits. I'm not saying that it's all bad, but the overarching intention to the series, the focus, where the narrative is placed in its focus, it's just not for me. It's not what I've wanted. Like that. Whoa, hey, oh, hello, friend. I'm pretty big on Classic Who. I don't love all of Classic Who. In fact, there are some stories that are so dull. Excuse me, sir. But there are like parts of Classic Who that like I adore. And the vibe, like the philosophy of Classic Who, the focus more on more straightforward, simple character interactions and growth. The greater focus on like plots and monsters and adventures and creativity. The whole attitude of the Doctor in Classic Who is far preferred for me to like the New Who approach to the Doctor, which again has just become further and further like condensed and contrived over time. Like I miss when the Doctor was just like an asshole. Like I don't think the Doctor needs to be spending every single episode like, oh, I'm so God, I'm the lonely and I do whatever, and oh, it's so tragic, everything's so tragic, oh my God, I've had all this trauma. Like honestly, I wouldn't mind if we just kind of like forgot a lot of the Doctor's supposed character growth and just went back to someone who can be just a bit more of like a dickhead, but not also, you don't have to make it some kind of like gigantic like character arc of like the Doctor learns to be good. It's like people like dickhead characters. Like I don't know, you think of like I've not watched loads of it, but like like Scrubs, like the like that one Doctor guy, I don't know his name, but he's a bit of an asshole. But like people like that, like those kind of characters are compelling because they're kind of, I don't know, there's more, they're less predictable, there's more to them, there's kind of a spikiness, there's an edge, and but there's also a chance to like to have more dimensionality there. I think when you make everyone too nice, you really lose something from the series. Hang on, I've not been looking at chat, so I should probably check what people are saying. What do you think of the second RTD era overall? Do I like Flatline? So yeah, second RTD era, Sweet and Condensed New Who, I think kind of sums it up. I think it's at a time when Doctor Who needed something that sort of strips back the program and cut out a lot of the fat. They put so much fat into it. It was like the most ill-conceived relaunch of the show. I don't know what they were thinking. What were they thinking, to quote a certain angry video game nerd? What do I think of Flatline? So, Flatline, it's been a little while since I've watched it. I do have mixed feelings on Flatline. I think the concept is... God, my scroll wheel's broken. I think the concept is great, because, like, Flatline... The idea of, like, the 2D monsters living in kind of, like, graffiti and art, you know, taking an ordinary thing, making it weird and alien and scary... Whoa. Make it weird and scary, that all really appeals to me. And I think the way they do some, like, the graphical stuff in that episode is good. And the interplay between, like, Clara and the Doctor whilst he's in the TARDIS are good. Where I think the episode completely kind of falls down for me, though, is that I really don't feel much tension or, like, excitement watching it. And I find this is something the Capaldi era struggles with a lot, is that with the first RTD era, you know, let's take an episode like New Earth. Like, it's very silly and campy, but there are moments made for fun, exciting, like, set pieces and, like, tense action. Whether it's just them, like, running through loads and loads of, like, corridors under pursuit of monsters, but more specifically, the scene where they're climbing up the ladder and they need to unlock the door with the sonic screwdriver, and you have this fun sort of game that's been made up by the writer where they need Cassandra to stop possessing Rose or the Doctor. Like, Doctor refuses to open the door unless Cassandra gets out of Rose. So then she jumps into the Doctor, and then the Doctor, she can't operate the sonic screwdriver when she's in the Doctor, and, like, the monsters are gaining on them, and it's just this fun back and forth of there's only so much time before they've got to get through the door, and yet they're not focusing on the important thing at hand. And that's, like, fun. That's an example of, like, creative, like, action adventure set piece writing. Whereas Flatline, it very much just kind of starts to feel like they're in a room, the Boneless turn up, they get to the next room, they stand around and talk, and then the Boneless turn up, and there's just not really much excitement in that. It feels quite flat. I feel. But, like, it's fine. Like, it's a fine enough, like, episode at the end of the day. It's just a little bit lacking in excitement for me. I don't know if you guys have anything of that. Not anything like that. What am I saying? I'm not very good at words today. What do you think RTD2 choice of doing more modern episode history like 60s and the 50s one? I'm cool with that. I think it's a fun... I think time travel is maybe an underrated part of the show. I think the problem is you hear, like, pure historical, and it's so easy to imagine some, like, stuffy costume drama. But you look at something like Back to the Future, and, like, the central gimmick in that is just there's a time machine. And we've gone back in time, and I think you can let the time period be, like, the feature of the episode. I think if you make it just, like, make sure that the show doesn't just make it feel like it's, you know, historical setting of the week, you know, here's some generic costumes and blah 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 blah. Oh my god, I'm the skeleton. Where is him? Fucking hell. I think you need to make it... let that act of travelling back in time and seeing these historical locations feel special, and kind of take time to let the companion really soak it in. And I think you can do that with any period. I'd love to travel back to the 50s or the 60s. And I just think you need to make time for, like, the simple fun of that. Even just stuff like in Remembrance of the Daleks, like Ace getting the hang of, like, the old currency, like... You're allowed to take a scene or two, I think, to do some wish fulfillment of, like, a character. Like, oh, I want to go into, like, an old diner and have, like, a steak. Like, I think that's very, like, or like an omelette or whatever. I don't know. That feels very human. Like, it feels like the kind of thing where, like, that can be, like, the scene that then leads into whatever the incident of the week is. You know, whilst they're getting something at the diner, they discover some incident. Like, I know it's all very formulaic, but, like, yeah, well, give me that chance for the companions to, like, order the steak or the apple pie or whatever. I think one thing obviously that they tackle in that episode is they sort of have to acknowledge obviously the racial prejudices and intolerances of the time, and I think in Lux they did a fine job of that, where it's like it's mentioned, but we don't overdwell on it, we don't turn it into some kind of like gigantic thing. It's just acknowledged, and you're kind of allowed to sort of like take that in a bit, kind of go like, oh yeah, wow, yeah, that is shit. And then you sort of, but it doesn't get in the way of the story. So yeah, I think more modern history is fine. I'd be up for companions visiting like the 80s or whatever. Ultimately, I think you can tell any kind of story. I mean, you don't want to make it superfluous, but I think you're allowed to have hyper refined stories are fun. Like, I love a super tight script, but I think you're allowed to have some wiggle room to just kind of like flourish and explore. Like, I think it should be fine to write a story, as I said, where you can just take it, it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to write a story that like has to take place in the 80s, like, oh, there's no other time period it can take place in. I think you're allowed to write a story that takes place in the 80s, but is just like a different kind of story with like an 80s backdrop, as long as you just make times for them to like, I don't know, soak in the time period and have fun. I'm not sure if I'm contradicting myself at this point with what I'm saying. Also, this cave is so huge. I feel like, I know this is a mod, so, oopsie doopsie me, but the size of caves in modern Minecraft I think is too big sometimes, and I think it makes exploration kind of a pain in the ass. So yeah, no, that's my thoughts on modern history episodes in Doctor Who. Yeah. Flatline is absolute peak. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Like, I said why I like it but don't love it. I'd be interested to hear what you sort of have to say about if you disagree or if you agree. Like, at the end of the day, we're all civil folks here. The old lava texture looks so bad to me now. Yeah, I don't even know what the old or new lava texture looks like. I've not kept up with that, so I don't know. Favorite classic Doctor? I usually say Patrick Troughton. I don't know, like, I really like him. I think he's great. I really like his era. I like his companions, especially Jamie and Zoe. There's just like a vibe to that era. I think, I don't know if I'm partially biased because like my mum, he was like one of the Doctors that like she mentioned, like first remembered watching when she was younger, and when I was younger, she told me about like all the Yetis in the underground with, I am gonna get shot, with glowing eyes, and that really like captivated my mind. So I don't know if I'm like slightly biased towards him because it's like I wanted to like watch my parents like Doctor as a kid, but at the same time, I think when I look at all the classic Doctors, it's like I like them all in different ways and for different reasons. I think yeah, I know. I just think he does kind of align with what I like in the Doctor. I like his screen presence. I like his performance. I might prefer him in season 4 to his later ones. Like, he calms down a bit in his later ones, and like he's still good. But I think going back to season 4, there's just this like extra impish quality that I think was, quite important in defining and distinguishing his Doctor from, the first Doctor. And yeah, I just, he's got a presence, he's got a charisma, I really like him. I think other Doctors, there are things about them where I have sort of caveats. Like, I like Pertwee, but he does have a little bit of a kind of a... I do not have any wood. I cannot build any more torches. How do I get out of here? I've actually forgotten how I got in here. Like, the third Doctor, he's got a bit of a kind of like a... I don't know how to define it. Like, he's a bit... not aggressive, but he's quite, I guess, quite authoritarian, quite kind of like traditional gentleman, like sit down, like, silly girl kind of thing. Like, not that he, like, says that, but he's, you know, he seems like he'd be a little bit, maybe he's, like, a little bit too human at times for me, or whatever. Where did I come from? I think I came from this way. Like, the first Doctor, I do quite like a bit, though, I like quite a bit, I think. I said that wrong. But I do need to watch more of his stuff, because he is obviously so different, and I think at first that can be a bit, like, alienating. You're sort of like, oh my god, like, this is meant to be the Doctor, but he sort of acts so differently, like nothing like him in some ways. And yet over time, I think the more time you spend with him, you start to kind of see more of those qualities that define the later Doctors. He has much more of an arc, which I actually think I really like. And I like that the first Doctor doesn't know everything. I think that's a really fun dynamic, that it does feel like there's still so much he has to explore and discover in the universe. Whereas New Who, and later sort of Classic Who, but especially New Who, it can start to feel a bit like the Doctor just, like, knows where everything is. There's never that random element of we've arrived somewhere and we don't know where they are. It's usually the Doctor's like, oh, I'm going to take you to blah 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 with the spinning carpets of Google Plesh. Oh, it's great. They've got ostriches with 5 lemons. So, and then I think Tom Baker, you know, as great as he is, sometimes really good. There's, like, several versions of Tom Baker, depending on, like, which era you're watching, and sometimes it's so clearly just, like he just doesn't, like, give a shit. Like, there are some episodes where you can tell he is checked out. I think you can maybe sometimes tell when, like, Troughton's checked out, but I feel like he usually, like, is still kind of putting the effort in, maybe. I like Seven a lot, too. But yeah, I don't know, Troughton. I say Troughton. It's been my choice since I was a kid. It's my choice now. I'm sticking with it because, I don't know, for some reason. Right, let me just see what chat is saying. Go to an original KFC. Yeah, honestly, same, man. Yeah, if we could do time travel, I would totally go to an original KFC. I'd want to try all the original fast food places, but, like, especially KFC, because I know that, like, man, why has there not been a film? Like, you know, they're all about those, what is it, like, not autobiographies. Those films that are, docudramas or whatever kind of thing. Like, they did one about McDonald's, you know, the founder, but, like, why is there not a Colonel Sanders, like, docudrama? Dude had the craziest life and also cared insanely about, like, the recipe to his chicken, and I want to try, like, what this dude was cooking up, because it sounded crazy. Patrician, I think, is the word to describe 3. What is the definition of patrician? Because I hear that word used a lot, and I kind of assumed I knew what it meant, and now I'm not sure. What has been your favourite episode of RTD2, if I have one? So, if the 60ths count, then probably Wild Blue Yonder. Just the fact that... and this is what's crazy, it's like, that was just, you know, months before the rest of this... you know, run aired. Like, RTD did put out 3 relatively solid, like, you know, the Star Beast is a bit shit, but he did put out 3 relatively solid... I don't need to do this, I've got I'll just head home. Episodes, especially Wild Blue Yonder, which, you know, whilst it wasn't perfect, excuse me, sorry, my throat, it had a lot of the right ingredients. It had good pacing. It had that moment where they're staring out into the void and talking about, like, the edge of the very universe. Like, the actual, like, feelings and emotion that moment was able to create. Like, the pit in my stomach it formed. I was like, holy crap. Like, yeah, this is what we've been missing. Like, stuff that really, like, actually emotionally connects. And like, it's solid. I feel like maybe it could have been... There were a few contrivances in there. But that's, I mean, kind of par for the course with Russell Who. But, like, that was really good. And the giggle was good until, like, the ending, when it kind of dropped the ball, but tuss. in terms of shooty episodes, God, I need to think about what shooty episodes we've had so far. So, oh, now okay, actually, I've got a confession to make, guys. I'm gonna have to look at you like a real Minecraft YouTuber. My skin, if you're wondering, is when I, like 10 or 11, 13 years ago, I wanted to make a War of the Worlds Minecraft film, and so I made a skin where I've kind of got like a waistcoat on, as you can see, and then I never made it, because I do that with a lot of projects. Anyway, my confession to you guys is that there's a number of Season 2 episodes I have not watched from the most recent season. I just kind of, like, the Robot Revolution didn't inspire confidence in me, and then Lux was, like, lukewarm. You know, it was fine in some ways, but then not fine. Oh, well, I mean, the whole meta bit with the doctors, like, the fans, was just kind of embarrassing. So, like, I've not watched The Well. I've not watched, what was the third episode? Was that The Well? No, there was another episode, wasn't there? I've not watched that Ruby one with Conrad. I've not watched the barbershop one. I've not watched the Interstellar Song Contest. I've only watched the finale because my friend was watching it and I wanted to kind of be able to chat about it with him. So yeah, I'm actually a bad boy. Like, I've not kept up at all. I just couldn't care. Like, season 2. Oh, I had an iron pick. Season 1 just like put me off like so bad of Doctor Who that I was just like, why even bother? Like, ooh, iron. So I'm trying to think about like what have I actually seen that was okay. Like, I don't love 73 Yards. I feel like that one is kind of overrated, you know, Babby's first A24 and all that. I can appreciate parts of it though. Like, I think, again, in terms of was it better than completely awful? Like, yeah, obviously. It was fine. Do I think it was as good as it could have been? No. I really struggle with Dot and Bubble. I have very complicated feelings on Dot and Bubble, but I daren't express them anywhere online because I would be castrated for it, because people defend that episode so much. I didn't even like Boom that much though. Like, Boom had some moments, but then it was also, you had like the weird, like the, you know, Daddy and the Antelope, like little girl in it. So I just don't know, man. Like, I don't know what I don't like Space Babies. I don't like... Rogue wasn't even that good. Rogue was like the closest to just like a typical Doctor Who episode. I'm doing nothing right now. I am like spacing out so bad. Sorry, you guys are getting nothing visually, are you? Maybe I should see if I can tame a horse. Yeah. I struggle to pick one, honestly. Maybe it is... No, because Boom looks awful as well. Like, Boom's ugly. Oh my god. I actually can't pick one. I can't pick one. Oh, I don't want to pick 73 Yards. Did I say 73 Yards? I don't want to pick 73 Yards either because of the, yeah, like my issues with it. Did I say 73 Yards or Wild Blue Yonder? I forget. I'm a bit... Oh, why am I making this into bread? I can't tame a horse with bread. I meant to use the wheat. Oh, I'm a big fuckhead. Right. Do horse eat bread? Let's give it a shot. Did he just go? Did he just leave? What? What? Why all these guys leaving me? Man, I just wanted a Haunts, and now they all gone. Oh, there you go. Fucking hell, I thought another guy left me. Whew, bleeding neck. Blummin' hell, mate. So yeah, I don't know. That doesn't really answer your question, but like, consider your question answered. It's none of them. I dislike them all for different reasons. Like, if I had to put one on... Boom? Just because it's the closest to like a Doctor Who thing, maybe? Whoa. Loads of iron. Hey. Sweet. Let's see if I can get some iron going in fonts and copper, because why not? Right, let me have a look at chat again. The Colonel, a Time Lord who travels around in a giant chicken bucket who makes fried chicken in every time period / planet. I love that. You know what? I've got a friend who loves inventing like new Time like new Time Lords. Just call them like, you know, the whatever. Like I can't remember some. I swear he had one that he just called like the fucker once, because he's just I don't even remember what his thing was. I think he just was like a bit of like a dickhead who just like messed things around. But I like that. I might steal that. I might see if he'll Oh, I've got I should keep arrows because I can shoot them. I might steal that. I need another chest. Hang on. Yeah, what am I? God, I'm discovering that multitasking is hard. I cannot talk and do more than one thing at once. Bloody hell. The Well is my favorite RTD2 episode. I will have to watch it and see what I think. This season was kind of it's like a 6 out of 10, I'd say. It's nothing particularly to write home about, but it's not horrific either. I think that is the thing, is that none of what we've had is oh yeah, I've got a fridge that I built in here. I should probably put a oh, there you go, that's a fridge now. I wish I could dye chests. I tried to install a mod that would let me do that, and it did not work. It just made the chests invisible. Invisible. Fridge. So, yeah, like, that is the thing, is I think you're right. Nothing's, like, awful in quality. I think, with the exception of the finales that just tend to kind of shit the bed a bit with way too much continuity, like, nothing's awful. There's genuinely, like, genuine moments of competence within this era of Doctor Who. But, on the other hand, the stuff that is in there, like, subjectively, that I really don't enjoy is, like, really in there, like I already said. The elements of the Moffat, the Davies, and the Chibnall era that I all kind of wished we'd get away from are all so present in this new era. And that makes it a lot harder for me to feel warmly towards it, because I'm just sat here being like, what are we doing? And I do think the show's a bit... I don't like the part that the show is taking in the culture war. I think it's one thing to, you know, include elements in your show that, you know, people object to. You know, whatever you want to... I don't know why this is not working on certain plants. You know, it's one thing to have, like, you know, certain, like, political undertones, like, that's fine and all, but when you're releasing articles being like, fucking piss off, stop watching Doctor Who, or, like, just starting to feel a bit too kind of, like, oh, you're not just, like... What I'm trying to say is there's a difference between, like, you know, writing content that, you know, can be looked upon as political, and people have been like, oh, like, yeah, clearly, you know, some people, like, objecting to that because they have their own, like, prejudices or whatever, and then, like, going out of your way to try and, like, fight and be like, no, we're on this side, and we hate that side, like, because then you're just kind of... I think it creates, like, an unpleasant environment all around. It's so kind of, everyone's very heightened and sort of ready to, like, attack and get at each other. Like, it feels very hostile. Everything around, like, Doctor Who discussion does feel very hostile, I think, within the context of, yeah, I guess the for lack of a better term, the political element of it. And that's not me, like, saying an opinion on, you know, the inclusion of politics either way. It's just purely the attitude of the show, like the kind of the yeah, this weird hostility kind of and like at times, like, smugness the show has. I think it feels like they are relying on like the outrage for marketing rather than, you know, just doing what they're doing and kind of like not saying anything either way. If that makes, I hope that makes sense. Let's see what else are people saying. God, I'm struggling to keep up with the chat. What was it like to see Wish World / Reality Raw at the cinema, Samuel? Because I saw it from the comfort of my own home where I couldn't be, like, embarrassed. I can't imagine what it'd be like to see that freaking, like, out in public. Were people disappointed? Like, did anyone say anything? Have I seen The Well? I've not seen The Well. So yeah, I'll get back to that. Obviously, I'm aware of The Well's continuity, its relationship with Midnight, which again is I sort of just disagree with doing that. I don't think that's what the show needs. So yeah, that's frustrating. I was trying to see because I'm trying to see other people. I just watched the first 4 episodes of Years and Years, and now that I've experienced good modern day RTD writing, I can't watch RTD 2 without being disappointed. This was the thing, wasn't it? Is that Russell was announced to be coming back, and there was like a moment of like disbelief. It was like, whoa, like seriously? And for him to come back at first, I was like, well, this feels like, I feel like, am I moving slower than usual, or is this fine? Am I moving slower because I've got, like, full armor on, or am I just, like, confused right now? No, I think that's fine. Like, Russell was announced to be coming back, and it felt like this big admittance, almost, to me, from the BBC that, like, yeah, the Chibnall era hasn't worked, and we're gonna have to call in, you know, the emergency forces. Or at least, but I'm from what I'm aware, the way the story actually goes is that, like, Russell actually approached the BBC to be like, if you need someone to do Doctor Who, like, I can do that. And I thought it was really interesting that he was coming back, because it was like, okay, you know, this hasn't happened before in terms of there's nothing like this in the show's history. I think Barry Letts came back to sort of oversee season 18 from what I'm aware. But that was purely in like a, you know, executive producer or like assistant producer role. Whereas with Russell T coming back, it was like, damn, we're gonna have a whole second era by like the same creative mind. And on the one hand, I was like, well, I didn't love everything in Russell's first era. Oh. So I was kind of aware that, like, yeah, you know, I got real sick of, like, the Tennant era towards the end. I got real sick of Russell's writing, just some of the weird, overindulging, you know, like, friggin', you know, End of Time with, like, the dinner time stuff is just, it's insane. Like, what is he thinking when he's writing that stuff? At the time, I just remember being like, what is this? And so, like, yeah, I was a bit like, well, you know, there's no guarantee this is going to be good. But what I did at least think is that, thing is, he did it the first time around. Like, he did Series 1. And I loved Series 1. And Series 1 just demonstrates just so much, like, restraint and care when it comes to relaunching the show. And I was like, clearly this demonstrates that, like, he knows what he's doing. And I was just really looking forward for, like, the modern day clean slate equivalent. And everyone was kind of been like, well, Russell's really matured as a writer, you know. Years and Years and It's a Sin is really good. Is you know, 10 out of 10. Brilliant. And so from that I was like, all right. Yeah. Sounds good. If he's improved, then he'll bring some real good creative spirit this time, I can only hope. Oh, Badlands. And then is that a doggy? And then he didn't. I can't believe it was like, you know, the 60th was whatever it was. Like, you had like Tennant coming back. I was like, okay, I don't love this, but like it's a necessary evil. Like, we want to get to people on board. We want to get the wider audience to. Are you just mine now? No. Eat the food. Do I need to feed him bones instead? Maybe I need to feed him bones instead. So yeah, like, what was I gonna say? Hang on, I've completely forgot where I was. Bringing Tennant back, yeah, that was it. Was needed to get people on board, to get the wider public interested again, and it worked. Like those specials actually got pretty decent viewing figures. It was like 7 million or so, wasn't it? Like consolidated or something. That's pretty good. Especially for today. And then not Space Babies. Church on Ruby Road debuted, and it was just like, oh man, like what are we doing? There's just, you know, that episode needed to be another Rose. Like I believe, despite how much the landscape has changed, I personally think episodic content still has a place. You take something like Arrested Development, whose sort of content its format is episodic and serialized simultaneously, and it's very bingeable, even if some episodes are just like a self-contained conflict for that episode, because there were, you know, ongoing things in it. And so I think you absolutely can do a multi-part series which makes time for individual episodic adventures whilst having like overarching threads. I just think you need to make things like the connection between the Doctor and their companions feel more real and more worthwhile. Like, I mean, that's the thing, is Doctor Who's such a fantastic, inviting concept for a TV show that it's kind of like, oh, gold. You don't need to. I don't think you need to fuck around too much. Like, I know. I just believe that you take someone who doesn't know Doctor Who, but they enjoy watching things like, I don't know, whether it's like Stranger Things or whatever other kind of like, you know, genre show. I think there's an appeal to just being like, hey, it's a show where like fucking you get to pretend you're traveling on board a crazy space time machine, getting into tense like fun situations, but with a huge amount of like creative variety. Like it just sort of, I think that's fine. Like I think that's enough on its own. And so I almost wonder if, when it comes to RTD2, like, was there not an option for, say, us to, like, let's, you know, we've gone for the 45-minute episode thing, which, like, for starters, it feels like they've forgotten how to pace 45-minute episodes as effectively as they used to be paced. Like, they feel so rushed now, and, like, not enough time is spent on anything. And I feel that, we almost could have adopted something closer to like the McCoy era in a way. Just like when you think about how we've got, you know, 8 45-minute episodes a season, and yet you look at a show like, say, The Good Place, and each episode is about 22 minutes long, and yet still usually manages to tell like a self-contained, you know, story, whilst also having overarching, you know, series-long plot threads and character arcs and so forth. Could we not have done 16 22-minute episodes? Or, hell, on top of that, could we not have done, like, say, 3-part or 4-part stories? Like, if you want it to have that sort of serialization, like, you know, you've got to watch the next episode, you've got to binge-watch vibe to it. Like, you could have, you know, 3-part and 4... Whether you just have 4-part stories that then have enough time to properly, you know, tell everything they need to tell, or you have not 4-part, you have like, I don't know, 2 3-part stories and then like a 4-part story, or like, I don't know, I don't know, you got to find a way to like break it up exactly, but like, I wonder if that would work. Oops, I did not know that that was loaded. Well, I wonder if I can. Oh, I thought that would be gooder. Oh, you... What? Just die, mate. Give me that arrow. Boop. Oh, there is him. I am out of bits. So yeah. Sorry, I went on a bit of a ramble there. Like, I just think there's so many ways in which they could have reapproached it, and instead what we got was just like uninspired, lazy, lackluster. Again, I don't like the way the Doctor's characterized. I thought that moment in like Empire of Death or whatever, where he's like screaming out the TARDIS doors. I'm just there like, this is so contrived. Like, I can't feel any emotion from this because, like, how am I supposed to believe that like the Doctor cares? Like, he feels like it feels like the show's trying to be like, oh, the Doctor is so distraught that like, but it's like the stakes are too big to comprehend. It's like, you're telling me the dog sat on his TARDIS for like, you know, bajillion years, and like now just the half the universe is dead. Like, I can't comprehend that at that point, because I know especially in like a couple minutes it's just going to be reversed. So it just felt so like, oh, and then the Doctor being like, oh, I've come to the conclusion that I am life and you're death. It's like, oh, can we just get away from this, man? I feel like Doctor Who would be served better if it just focused on how to make a plot. Well, not just focused onto, but like, it feels like there's such a huge laundry list of like, what does a Doctor Who episode need to be? What does it need to do? And like, I feel like it's fine if a Doctor Who episode just offers like thrills. Like, I'm not saying I want it to be like substanceless, but there are some films where it's not that like the film itself is overly deep, or there's like a really impressive character arc, or that it's got some deep thing to say. It's just that like the film is well made in terms of how it kind of creates action and tension and suspense. Like, those things are independent sometimes of character or of like themes or whatever. So I don't know. I just feel like it's fine for a Doctor Who episode. It's fine to have the odd Doctor Who episode that's a bit more like, oh no, we wandered into a situation, there's a bunch of scary monsters, how are we going to get out of this? And yeah, why does that seem to be so hard for like the series to do at this point? Time to eat. Yeah, forgive me if I'm not keeping up with chat the best. I don't actually have a second monitor, which means I'm having to use my phone to keep up with what people are saying. So give me 1 second. Gold. Whilst I check chat. The finale was easily my least favourite episode of Who ever. I genuinely hated it. It killed any enjoyment I might have gotten on rewatches for the season. Is that the season 2 finale? I mean, I think season 1 or season 2 is kind of the same thing. Like, they both managed to do the exact same thing of like, we'll have some, you know, slightly better received episodes in the middle, and then we'll drop the ball at the end. It'll be brilliant, mate. It'll be banging. What else have we got? I can't figure out which version of MC this is, or if it's modded, or which mods, but I haven't played since 2018. So this is basically the latest version. It's 1.21.1, but I have modded it to have more elements of alpha and beta in the game, because those are the versions that I did not know what that was for a second. That really freaked me out. Why are you here? Why are you down here? Yeah, I've modded it to have more elements of like alpha and beta, because those are the versions I played back in the day, and there are certain gameplay elements that I prefer. I could do a whole discussion about, you know, how Minecraft has changed. Like, I mean, I've wanted to make videos about it for like years now, but I've always got so many thoughts that I find it hard to like get them all organized into one cohesive thing. And then the minute I think I have achieved that, I like forget what I've there's always something I've like forgotten that I'm then like, oh, actually I want to mention that too, and then it takes even longer to get it done. But yeah, it's the mods are things like, I've got the Golden Days resource pack on, I've got nostalgic tweaks on that just lets me change things, like, for example, I've got stamina rather than the hunger bar. Nice. I've got like certain old, like I've got the old lighting on, so like the game's kind of darker and torches are not brighter, but sort of more atmospheric almost. And just very. So I've also got a few other things, like I've got the Aether installed, and I've got a world generation thing called Cascades that tries to make the world generation a little bit more like beta. So yeah, it's been pretty fun so far. As someone who struggled a lot with some of the modern Minecraft mechanics, this feels like it reaches a good kind of compromise. Though I'm still not sure about the caves compared to alpha caving, or like the older versions. I still find the new caves a bit too big and hard to navigate. I am out of torches again. Thank God I have all of these planks. Let's not make too many though, because I need some. And then, pop. Bam. Cool EO. Let's see what else the people are saying. This area has a really bad problem using minority groups, to be honest. The characters are never doing anything worthwhile. Their only roles getting discriminated against. I think there's definitely a conversation to be had about that. I think it's, you know, it's always such a hard thing to have because the discussion around these things is so heightened. And everyone's kind of... Yeah, everyone's, I think, very kind of like, again, they're on edge. They don't want to either... Because there's a lot of hostility just like everywhere from both sides, and people then are very reactive because of that, and it means sometimes trying to express something can become like very hard because people can jump to conclusions. I think, for example, like the way Shirley's character has been handled at times, I've just not always been like super convinced by. And yeah, it just feel like, she hasn't had much of a life on screen outside of being there to be like, oh, and like, remember, people forget about disabled people, and we get discriminated against, actually, kind of thing. What I'm thinking about is how, a show that I quite enjoy is Malcolm in the Middle. I watched it like first a few years ago, and I've sort of rewatched it various times. And one of the main characters in there, like one of the main side characters, is Stevie. He's a presence in so many episodes, and he's like, he's a black disabled kid with like one lung, so that he always like breathes funny. And yet he never feels like artificial in the show. He feels like a real person, and I think it's because the show like has him in it in a allows him to be more than just his disability or there to fucking hell. Fucking hell. Oh my god, no, shitting hell. The show is never like just using him to try and make a point about that. In fact, the show rarely seems to have like an agenda up its sleeve. It's just like he is what he is. He has his disability. Sometimes you see that like inconvenience him, but it's never some gigantic, oh woe is me, my life is so terrible. It's just like hey, like, oh shit, there's one situation, there's one episode where they go to the arcade and Stevie's like wheelchair gets stolen, and it's not like they don't make this huge thing out of it. It's just like a little thing of like, oh shit, like how are they gonna like get him around now, like without his wheelchair there. But like he's got so much like personality outside of those identifying factors to him, and as well, the show isn't afraid to like to find comedy with his disability, not like making fun of it, but like making fun of situations which feature his like where his disability is like an aspect of it. And I think that does a better job of like normalizing it and making him feel like a human person than like anything that Russell's done with his approach. I really hope I'm like expressing this okay. It's just it's just what crosses my mind when I watch that show. Like I rarely think of him as like, oh yeah, Stevie, like the disabled kid. I just think of him as Stevie, as a person, because the character is allowed to be more than just those things. And again, I just don't feel like I know Shirley that well. She's just not had enough time, aside from to be there to make a quippy remark about how So, you know, and I obviously I don't mean any like ill will to anyone involved, and I don't mean any ill will to whatever the actress Ruth Madley, I think she called, like I don't mean any ill will. It's just like the way she's used does feel a little bit weird to me, and I think that kind of goes for like a lot of aspects of inclusion in Doctor Who recently. It starts to feel very artificial and forced. Dear God, why? Oh my God, this is too big. How am I meant to get down there? This is challenging. Oh my God. Do I have any gravel? No. I should have taken a bucket of water, really. Go get some buckets and spades from the TARDIS! So, sorry. I always think it's, you know, that's from the start of Enemy of the World. It always sounds like Patrick Troughton says, like, get some buckets and spades from the TARDIS! Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you guys have seen Enemy of the World recently, but I always thought it kind of sounds... Ooh, no, I thought they were vines. I don't know how I'm going to get down there. Leave a comment on this web zone if you know how to get down there. What else have we got? Rose literally doesn't get a new outfit in the finale. They feel like an afterthought. Oh, is that Rose like Donna's daughter, Rose? Because yeah, again, her inclusion in the finale. They like forget about her. Doesn't she just like appear for like one moment and oh my, she appears for like one moment in the finale, then like disappears again, and like no one gives a shit. Like that's another example of a character who, at first, it nearly seemed like they kind of like at first it seemed like she was just allowed to be her. In like the brief initial scene we had, it was like, oh, this, you know, yeah, they you know, and then you had that quite nicely handled scene between Sylvia and Donna where, oh. You have that nicely handled scene between Sylvia and Donna where she's like, "Oh, if I say she looks nice, is that sexist?" But that works because it's real. It's like that is. Oh my God, how am I gonna find that stuff? Jesus Christ! It felt real. It felt like a situation that would genuinely arise, and that people, you know, would genuinely struggle to navigate. Like I imagine there were older audiences in the fucking hell, older viewers in the audience who might have even felt quite seen by that, being like, oh my God, yeah, like this, you know, it's acknowledging that like it's not a straightforward matter for everyone. For some people, they do need to take some time to kind of to understand and to wrap their heads about it, and they're not going to be perfect, and they are going to be a bit like on edge and like, am I going to say the right thing? Have I made a mistake here? So like, yeah, I feel that at the start, she seemed like the whole Rose thing seemed like it was going to be handled well, and then you have the whole binary, non-binary thing, and then she's just randomly turning up like with a job in unit, and it's like doesn't feel like a real person anymore. They've barely turned up in the series since you first introduced them, so like yeah, totally with her as well. What else have we got? I agree, Rose Noble felt like the definition of tokenism. If their character wasn't trans, literally what was the point of them? That's tokenism, IMO, and it didn't sit well. Yeah, I think there's a point to be made for, you know, there's a case to be made. There's a lot of tokenism in this era. A lot of stuff that just isn't being handled completely right in this era, and it is a shame. And it's hard to talk about because, again, it's a... I feel like it's down there. It's like, it's a tough subject. It's a tender subject for some people. Some people, understandably, feel very strongly about this. But then I feel like those who feel strongly about it shouldn't get aggressive with those that either don't feel as strongly or just maybe need some more time to understand. Alright. Is it... No, I think this is where I went in, isn't it? I'm gonna have to keep looking. I didn't see Wishworld when it was released, so did wait for cinema. But for Reality War, a lot of laughter and shock. But the ending, it was more like, what did I just see kind of reaction. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, it's weird. It was a weird finale. Like, with the Omega thing as well, like, the way Omega was handled. I mean, that's another thing, is that Omega was what? Like, he was in, like, 2 stories? I had to actually like take a moment to look at, like, I'm a Doctor Who fan. I've watched the Three Doctors at least a few times, and I've watched Arc of Infinity like on different occasions. Yeah, even I had to kind of go on the wiki and be like, what was Omega's deal again? Like, who was this guy? And after I looked it up, it was oh, the Doctor Who wiki is such a nightmare to like read, because like every 3 words it's like prose, the Book of Omega, TV show, the Three Doctors, audio, the chimes of Belgrave, and you're just there kind of being like, oh my god. And then it's like, he apparently did this, but according to this source he might have done this, and according to this he might have done this, and it's like, oh my god, like, guys, we can't make it all canon. Oh wait, it was in this biome, wasn't it? Anyway, let's see what else I was reading. No, yeah, sorry, yeah, with Omega. Oh, lag spike. The thing about Omega is that if you need to kind of build up more to his introduction, you can't just be like, Omega's coming back, because otherwise audiences will be like, what? The people who obviously, care to research this stuff, like classic Who fans or modern Who, like, I guess all Who fans, they might care a bit more. But again, we want to reach more than just Doctor Who fans, don't we? And we want to create new Doctor Who fans. So, like, you need to put a bit more effort into... Here we go. You need to put a bit more effort into... I should have taken a bucket of water. Oh! There's my dirt bit. Right, I should probably get some sand to help my situazione. Like, yeah, they should have actually put effort into trying to reintroduce him. And make it something where, like, you seed it earlier and you take more time to build up to it and you actually explain why it's a deal. Because, like, again, I didn't even remember. I was like, why is this... Like, can't remember exactly what he did again. What does it even... And then he barely did anything. So, like, maybe that was part of the reason why as well. I do wonder, is it that Russell's approach, his attitude, has kind of been that, oh, well, we want to get people watching more Doctor Who. We want to get them going through the back catalogues, It'd be brilliant. Like, is he... I totally get the thing of his, like, there's this gigantic universe. People love lore, in some cases, or, like, you have all these unlikely characters that get swept up and celebrated by newer audiences, even though they're quite niche and obscure. And I can understand if maybe he was thinking, we can get people on board. We can get people interested in all of Doctor Who, in all these niche characters, get them to really, like, comb through the back catalogue. But I think... I don't know... I think you need to put a bit more effort into getting people on board before you just throw it in their faces. And I think it's probably quite a specific audience. Like, I don't know, I just think you need to be lucky for any of that to really work. And so, yeah, it is... Yeah. It's tricky-ion. Tricky-onyx. I don't know how I'm gonna... Let me just... Funny. Let's just see if there's any more chat messages. As a non-binary person, I'd much rather just have zero representation if you're doing nothing with the character. I think, like, you need to make sure that whatever you're doing with the character is that it feels like genuine. I think, because otherwise, yeah, I mean, yeah, ultimately, like, I agree, and I can't speak too much in terms of, like, representation. Like, obviously I only have my limited own perspective on it. But yeah, I think the damage that poor representation can do, it's something to at least keep in mind. I think you have to try and think, is this going to... Can any, issues come of this? Is this going to risk looking patronizing or desperate or potentially even, like, tone deaf? Like, there's that whole thing of, did Russell, like, misunderstand transgenderism and non-binary with that weird, binary, non-binary shit? Like, did he... Because then it comes across like some tone-deaf guy who doesn't know what he's actually writing but trying to do a good thing, and then, well, that doesn't feel genuine, So yeah, it's, for sure. Oh my god, hello. I'm so behind on chat messages, by the way. I'm so sorry. I did not realize there were going to be so many. It was fun being at the cinema. See, I've never done a Doctor Who, aside from when they showed the Daleks invasion of, like, the two 60s Cushing Dalek films. They had their cinema run, and I saw them at the showroom in Sheffield. And for some reason, they aired Dalek Invasion of Earth. Like, they showed that first, not the Daleks. And then me and my friends who I went to see it with we'd stayed up like really late the previous night, and we were so dead that we didn't end up staying for the Daleks. We're just like, should we go home after this because we feel really tired. But that's like the only Doctor Who thing in the cinema I've done. I've never done a like an episode, like not the 50th, not the 50th, not was Power of the Doctor in there? I feel like a few ones have been at the cinema. Right, now where did I fall? Do you guys remember? It feels like at the end of the RTD era, he was beginning to be surrounded by yes men. Now we're at RTD2. Every idea comes with gets thumbs up by the execs. You know, I look forward to the collection sets coming out for this kind of run of Doctor Who, because ultimately, it's like, yeah, you know, what happened? I really want to know. I think both for the Chibnall era and for the RTD2 era, like, there's got to be more going on behind the scenes. You know, there's the discussions around Millie Gibson and Shooty, and like, when, you know, were they meant to stay on for longer? Was Millie meant to stay on for longer? Was she really, like, were there problems behind the scenes? And it's so fascinating. Like, holy crap, I really want to know, like, what happened. Because where is my stuff, man? It's going to be so interesting to finally, like, hear the truth, because I think it will like provide some clarity. I think similar to how some of those documentaries and like all the truth about 80s Who kind of helps soften the blow or helps us understand some of the issues and have more sympathy for the program. Like, I just want to understand, like, what happened. I want to give Russell the benefit of the doubt and assume that, like, oh my god, I do not have any torches. Holy crap, where is all my stuff, man? Did you guys see where I died? I don't know why I'm asking you, because I'm so many messages behind in chat that it's not gonna help much. Oh, someone's close by. You need bones to tame Doggo. Ah, get the fuck away from me. Okay, well, I'll find some bones to tame a Doggo the minute that I'm not dead in a hole with none of my stuff. Dear God. Was it a bit higher than this then? Maybe. Have I gone down too far? I feel, because like my bridge is over there. Maybe it's a little higher up. Unless they just like despawned. Unless I just took so long to get there that they just frickin'... that my dad frickin' moved. Sorry, that's a Jake and Amir reference. Don't know if anyone knows Jake and Amir here. Jake and Amir here. Unless this wasn't the ravine. Unless it was a different ravine. What do you think of Billy Piper potentially being 16? Whew. Here. Bad. Just bad. Just no. Just why. Just a show stuck. A show desperate. A show... I did not know what this is when I saw it the other day, and it is a spider's egg, and it was really scary. It's just the complete wrong. Like, ever since I was a kid, not ever since I was a kid. Well, I don't know. As a kid, one of the exciting things about Doctor Who was how many versions of it there were. Like, I don't know. Like, so the thing about 2005, and I feel like I've maybe said this on here before, is that 2005, you got so many remakes of like older properties. You had The Magic Roundabout, you had Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, you had The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, you had Narnia, you had Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you had War of the Worlds, and I ended up watching a lot of these. What is going on? Is it because of the I think it's the spider web. So you can't jump in spider web. Okay. It's all new to me. God, this is very hard to see. Should have taken some torches, really. You had all these remakes came out, and Doctor Who came out that same year, and I think in a way it conditioned my little like kid brain to be like, oh, there's the old versions of things, and there's the new versions of things, and this is what that one looks like, and this was what that one looks like, and I kind of liked how it was like, oh, this is what this Doctor looks like, this is what their Sonic looks like, this is the companions they've got, this is what the Cybermen looks like for their era, this is what the Daleks look like. I kind of liked that like interchangeability, that evolution that you saw within the show. And I think I'm gonna die again. It's all going well. I mean, how important is any of that stuff? Like, I've got a bunch of iron. It'll be fine. I might take some coel just to be just to be safe. So that I can actually like see around. And so yeah, like all I like literally, you know, I fucking back when they introduced their Cybermen's in season 2, I was like, bloody hell, that was a good one. Like, that story's not perfect, but man, there's a lot that I think it does well, just from like a, you know, fun, spooky, blockbustery Doctor Who adventure kind of episode vibe. And I was like, hell yeah, that was awesome and scary. I can't wait to see like the next Cyberman story. And just, you know, every single time there's been like, you know, I've not been keen on an era, whether it was Tennant or Smith or Capaldi. Like, I had problems with all of them. There was always this sense of like, but you know, there's it's gonna change. There's gonna be something new. Like, all they have to do is to have like a new guy, not necessarily a guy, Freudian slip, a new person as the Doctor, a new companion. You know, there was that promise of like, oh, there's all of classic Who's. Like, what other monsters can they bring back? And like, they could do it in a way that was just kind of like, I don't think every single monster return has to be some gigantic like, oh my god thing. Like, I think it's fine just to be like, oh, it's these guys like again. And I think maybe sometimes Doctor Who falls into a trap of kind of thinking like, oh, we need to justify stuff. Like, even with the Moffat era, trying to like figure out how do we like write a clean slate into the show, or like, oh, how do we justify the fact that like the 12th Doctor looks like how the hell that Roman guy, I can't remember, it's like Caecilius or something like that. Like, how do you explain that he looks like him? It's like, well, you could just not. You could just assume that maybe at this point people won't, like, casual audiences won't remember a character from 6 years ago in a one-off episode. And if they do recognise him, they'll just be able to go, that's Peter Capaldi. It's just the same actor. He just wasn't the Doctor yet. And yet, I don't know why Moffat was like, oh, I'm going to have to justify it. I'm going to have to write in a thing where he goes, I recognise this face. Why did I choose this face? And it's just a bit like, but now we're just wasting time on it. Like, we're taking, like, and I'm not saying there's no merit in that idea, but it feels like wasting time at that point. What is important about, like, what does it add? I was just there like, I get it, like, it's the same actor, like, move on, like, give me a good Dalek story. And then we got into the Dalek, which was okay Dalek story. Swings and roundabouts, you know. So yeah, anyway, yeah, so I really got away from that. Billy Piper being the 16th, it's just like everything I don't want. It's like the show, you know, in the past, I've maybe not said, but for me, I don't like how much Rose dominates over the rest of, like, the RTD era. I think it's a sign that, like, the show wasn't letting itself properly kind of, like, move on. because you think that she's ripped away in this incredibly kind of contrived, tragic way in that first in the season 2 finale. The show then, and it's not even for like a character reason. It's like, regardless of her taking that action to try and help the Doctor, she was gonna end up in the parallel universe anyway. It's like nothing changed. What was that? Oh, just a guy. So there's a whole element of like, yeah, it's kind of sorry, my mind's going. But I keep getting these weird lag spikes. I don't know why. I might try just turning that down to like. I probably don't need it 32. Like 24 is probably fine. Oh no, I can. Oh no, I can see. That's fine. Her departure hangs over the rest of the Russell's run, because you get to series 3 and like immediately the Doctor's there being like, oh, I had this friend called Rose. Oh, where's Rose? Rose would know what to do. And it's like, okay, so we're not treating like Martha fully as like her own person. Like the show itself is remind you like, oh, that companion you really liked has left. Oh my god, the Doctor can't even get over her. Oh my god. And then Martha is just kind of treated as like a bit of a rebound character. Like I don't think her eventual arc actually does justice to the way she's treated in the earlier parts of the season. And then by the first episode of season 4, the adipose one, she's back. You see her at the end, it teases her, and then she's teasing like a bunch of the other episodes, and it's like, so we had one season without her where she's still mentioned like on numerous occasions, and then by season 4 the show's already going, guess who's back? Back again. And it's like the show couldn't let you move on from Rose. And even 15 years later, or 20 years later, or whatever you want to call it, is, it depends where you're drawing the line. Again, I can't get down. I should have built a bucket. I'll build one right now. The show isn't moving on. It's still letting Rose hold it back. Now, like, is there any merit to the fact that it's a companion and that's not been done before? Maybe. I think that had we not had Tennant, then I would have gone, okay, this is weird, but you know what? They've not done it before, and if this is what they need to do to get, like, older viewers back on board, non-fans and so forth, we'll see what happens. They might have a really interesting, story, like, angle for it. Similar to what I hoped they'd do with Tennant. In the end, I don't think the Tennant thing had a particularly interesting story angle, which was a shame. And so can we even trust this one to have an interesting story angle? I don't know. What does it say? That does explain the oof lighting missing hunger bar, but the presence of hardened clay and crossbow. Yeah, exactly. It's my own little moddy version, because I've got many it's kind of like Doctor Who. I've got complicated feelings on Minecraft. Again, something else that sort of its identity quickly changed sort of not long after it came out, and it sort of started down like a different path, and then every single addition to that has kind of further cemented its like identity in a new way. And then when you try and talk to people about like the differences, people are like, if you don't like it, you don't play it. Similar to how like, if you don't like it, don't watch it with Doctor Who. This is nice though. I am liking this bit. This is quite pleasant to my eyes. Oh yeah, so I've got Biomes O'Plenty installed as well, just for a bit more variety. So that is what all this is. But it look nice. Ooh, Hontsy. If I can get myself an Appel, then I may be able to acquire a steed. I love Malcolm in the Middle. Stevie beats up Reese multiple times. Yeah, exactly. Like the little circle game episode with their hands. That's such a fun one, because like there's like a subtle acknowledgement of the fact that like, oh yeah, Stevie, you wouldn't expect him to kind of do as well at this game, because he hasn't, he's I don't want wait. I don't want that to come across in like the wrong way. But you know, like he's struggling like to like get out the words as quickly because of his like breath thing, and he's not got quite the same sort of like you know, I guess like mobility, for lack of a better term. I just realised that is above a lava thing, so all my apples might fall into the lava. And yet, you know, but it kind of at first it comes across as like cruel, almost like, oh my god, how can like Reese like willingly like gang up on him like this? But then by the end of the episode, like not only does Stevie get his like own back and manages to turn the tables, but then it's kind of like, you know, the episode never went out of its way to be like, well, you've got to treat him with cloth fingers. If anything, the episode like challenged that notion, and also it pays off like really well comedically with then like the direction of his you know, what was happening with his own mum's dynamics. That's an episode where they all go to like a restaurant. Once again, I hope I expressed that well. I didn't mean it to sound like I was saying like, if you're in a wheelchair, you can't play the circle game. I feel like that's probably what the episode was like going for. Let me see, what else have we got? Belinda was nearly that sort of a character, and then after the well, maybe they just dropped her calling out the doctor's nonsense. Yeah, well, I mean, obviously I've not fully kept up with God, there's so many huge caves. I've not fully kept up with everything that happens in... I've got all my armor on me. I'm gonna get some sugarcane instead. Why not? Forgive me, where the hell was my brain for a second? What? What is that? I think you can get a fish in a bucket, can't you? Is this a... No. I want you. I want you. Okay, no, never mind. No, I think maybe it's a different kind of fish. So yeah, like, what was I talking about? Belinda, sorry, yes. I from what I've heard, yeah, I mean, obviously I've seen the finale, which that outcome does not feel like it interacts, like it aligns with her previous character, like, at all. Like, what? She's she's a mum? Like, what are you saying? Like, she's a single, not a single mum, but like... I mean, yeah, she just kind of, she was like, oh, I need to get home, and like at first she seemed like a relatable character where it's like, oh, it's someone who's kind of like, you know, like youngish adult, you know, not got everything sorted out in life, lives in like a house share. I was like, oh, that's familiar. that's like me. But also, you know, reacting somewhat like a real person, being like, I don't necessarily trust you. This is weird. Like, I'm scared. I want to go home. And then, yeah, it just sort of, from what I've heard, it feels like they dropped that. And especially for the resolution to be like, I was actually a single mum and I now have a magical baby Poppy. I don't know what, like, so, is the implication is that she always had the baby? Or is it that time literally got changed and Belinda, against her will, Jesus, got made into a, mum? Like, is that the idea? I feel like these crops should really drop seeds. I don't know why Biomes of Plenty doesn't let them do that. So yeah, Belinda was handled weirdly. I really need to catch... Sorry, I'm so behind on the chat. Davros been made into not being made disabled. RTD was definitely right about disabled people being used as villains a lot, but Davros was never an example. Yeah, that's, again, it's one of those examples where it's like... RTD's heart is like technically in the right place, and like he does have a point about disability being a shorthand for villainism. Was Davros the right like one to pick to change? Like no. Like I do think maybe Russell found himself in an awkward situation because it's like, well, we want to do a children in need sketch. What's a cheeky, like, accessible, broad appeal sketch? Oh, something about the Daleks, and oh, here's how they got their sink plungers. But like immediately it's like, oh, if I want to show the creator of the Daleks, I've got to show... is that... I think that might be one of those pillager things that I've heard about. It's like, yeah, is Davros the right one to use for that? What on earth? Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Because... Yeah, sorry, yeah, as I was saying, like, I understand why he'd want to use Davros. You want to show the creator of the Daleks, and it's like, oh, do we really want, like, to do, like, maybe a bit of an offensive, like, stereotype as our, like, for our Children in Need sketch, you know, do we want to show someone who looks like they're visibly in a wheelchair? But then, at the same time, to then suggest that, like, you know, this is when Russell's, like, irritating, like, public speaking persona takes over, and it's not just him being kind of, like, you know, they could have just said, like, oh, we felt that, oh, no, oh, no, these are the worst things ever, oh, God, 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 oh! It's going well. It's good. It's A-okay. We are golden, as Mika would say. Right. What was I saying? Russell didn't choose to just say, oh, we thought for this sketch it would, you know, perhaps be in better taste to show, you know, Davos in, like, a different way or something. Or, like, oh, we wanted to, you know, we thought we'd take a peek at, you know, the early Davros. The fact he was then saying, like, you know, it is a problem, like, we need to address this, you know, it's a very bad problem, and this is how Davros, you know, I am insisting now, this is how Davros is always going to be shown. It's that kind of, like... And he did the same with, like, the Toy Maker as well, where it just feels like the attitude becomes a bit too kind of, like, I don't know, all-encompassing. Like, it's not enough just to let it be, like, an individual thing. It's like, no, I insist, this is how we're going to handle this from now on. Even, like, with, like, the bi-regeneration thing, we've been like, oh, that happened to every single Doctor now. And it's like, did it really? Like, oh my god, this thing is... I might disable those fuckers. What do you... What do you mean? Any criticism he takes, he refuses. Yeah, I've heard about Russell being a bit block happy. Which, yeah, it's not good. Again, I feel like, especially when it's like actual disabled people being like, hey, like, appreciate what you're trying to do, but maybe no. He's just like tough. It's like, Jesus, man. It's just, it feels like he's got some huge chip on his shoulder, or some, like, huge ego. Let me just see if there's anything else. I'd like a fresh new showrunner who does new stuff, because I'm sick of mid ASF nostalgia slop. Yeah, I hope that we get someone else. I'm not a good writer. I have ideas of what I do with the show. I have plenty. I've wanted to make a video on that for, like, a long time, of, like, here's my vision for Doctor Who, here's my pitch. Again, just, like, getting it all, like, organised is a challenge, though. Like, getting all my thoughts together. God damn. How do people talk for so long on live streams? My throat hurts so much. I'm just trying to keep up with chat a bit. Is this better than Adventure? No, this is my own sort of custom configuration of mods. A similar kind of intention to Better Than Adventure. The idea being that it's a bit closer to beta, but with certain modern features in the game. If I could truly... I don't know, I'd have to learn how to mod. I would... Oh, there's an ice cream van outside. Oh, what if I got an ice cream? If I were to, like, make my own mod, or, like, I wish I could, because there's, like, a version of the game I'd love to play that isn't really... It's not really a thing. No one's done it. I'd love a version where basically the idea is that you start... the way you start with the train you generate in is like the basic alpha or beta train. You know, it starts off with, like, basic green hills and beaches and that kind of stuff. But the further away from spawn you get, the more kind of like wild and interesting the terrain gets, and like the tougher the enemies get, and the more like structures develop. Just because I think that would add this really nice sense of progression where it's not like modern Minecraft where like too much stuff can get thrown at you on your first day, and it's like before you know it, like there's a village, there's a ruined nether portal, you've got like 20 iron. You're not encouraged to like settle down and build. Instead, I feel like something that encourages you to kind of like start off in like the simpler world and sort of build up and up and up, to then be able to, to get stronger, to venture further out, to acquire more resources, to then, even build second encampments further out. And there could be like environmental hazards that you have to keep in mind, so that like it alters the way you build in those environments, or the way you play, or the kind of resources you need. And then you could build like, rail systems to interconnect them all, or whatever. I'd love something like that. Just like a reason to explore and to keep journeying out, but one that doesn't feel like the game is like horrifically unbalanced. One where you can find structures, but you're guaranteed to have like your own corner of the world to start in, without that interrupting your gameplay. You know what? Considering that I've like died so many times in this save, I might just start like, I might just go for a wander. I've lost like 50 iron. That kind of sucked a bit, but I might just see like what's generating in my world. I like the potential of 14 being 10 2. Wait, being 10 over fan service for the 60th. We can look over 40 being 10.2. Had to fix some mistakes. Help Donna. I liked it, but Donna been saved. But the power of being a woman felt icky. I mean, yeah, the whole Donna thing. That's another thing where it's like the signs, the early warning signs of Russell's attitude towards the show were there. The idea that these plot points that had been set in stone originally were now like, oh, Donna she's healed by the magic of, because she just can. Oh, she's always been able to let it go. What do you mean? I mean, technically, the explanation that like it carried over into the it was shared between her and Rose, her daughter, like, is actually is okay. Like, it's not the most satisfying, but it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I can conceive that would then like split it up and make it like less intense. But then this whole, again, it's the male presenting Tire Lord, just let it go thing, where it's like, what does that even mean? What are we saying? I don't understand. Oh, cute. So yeah. Too bad, Waluigi. Hello, why are there only 15 viewers? Because I am not popular enough to have more viewers. Because I basically died and didn't upload for like several years. But I'm 13 or 15, however many it is. That's fine for me. That's more than I actually expected, so I'm fine with that. I literally planned out an entire era because it's really interesting. If you have written any of that down, I'd be interested in reading what your ideas are. I'd be curious to see sort of what direction, what intention you have for the show. Like, mine would be a kind of like, mine would be like, have elements of Series 1's approach, the good Series 1, Eccleston, with a bit more kind of classic Who influence, especially like 60s Who influence, I think. I would want, and I'd want to get away from some of the new Who tropes when it comes to the Doctor. So my Doctor would feel a bit more classic Who, in some ways. But jeez, what the fuck is that? I'd also have the Doctor. I've got like a whole kind of character thing in mind for my Doctor, where kind of I wanted to play on the idea that like, well, we're reaching this point with the show where it's 60 years old and people are asking themselves, is Doctor Who, like, have we exhausted like all the like what is there left to tell? Has Doctor Who exhausted its potential? Does it need to end? And as well with like the fact that we are trying to kind of like create some semblance of like a character arc within the show for the Doctor. Like, people are trying to more actively, thanks to New Who, trying to knit together a sense of character continuity for the Doctor, and I think that can kind of like, it can actually start to get in the way of the show a little bit. I think it can actually start to harm the show, because what is this? Is this just meant to be like a really like dried out biome or something. What is this? Deadlog. Yeah, and I think what I wanted to do is to part of the idea I had for the Doctor would be that the Doctor himself in this version of the show, he's not the he's basically over it, is my idea. I don't know if I've already mentioned it on here. My idea is that this Doctor, he would be kind of a bit like cynical. He would have this mindset that at this point he has basically seen and explored like everything there is to do in the universe. He's convinced there are no more surprises left for him, and he's basically going through the motions. He's almost like running on autopilot. And it'd be because I want to almost like challenge the ridiculous like emotive quality of a lot of New Who Doctors. Like the New Who Doctors are so emotive at times and get so like broken up by stuff where I'm like, I don't know, man. Like I feel like you've probably, wow, what is that? I feel like you've probably gone through like this kind of thing enough for it to like, for you not to be so like emotionally distressed, or like the Doctor feeling like he has to do these big, gigantic epic speeches and stuff. Like this is a Doctor who kind of like challenges that. He's not going to do big epic speeches to try and like convince his enemies to stop. He's just going to be like, look, like you can stop fucking messing around and like pack it in, or I'm going to take action, and it's up to you, mate. Like he's not going to beat around the bush. He's not going to indulge his enemies in like a big emotional speech. But equally, I think, because I feel like I'd want this Doctor to almost kind of represent the state of the show now, whereas like I feel like the show has lost curiosity with its own concept. In a way, it feels like the show, it gets so focused on either like the melodrama or on like pointless continuity stuff that I feel like. What was that noise? I think it was just snow falling. Oh, pretty. I feel that you could do something with that. Like, this is a Doctor that is, he's jaded, is over it. He's convinced the universe doesn't have that he's not got anything left to discover in the universe. And it'd be basically his relationship with the companion would be like the companion would almost be not like the polar opposite, but the companion would bring that like new perspective that like the Doctor's missing. Like the companion would like, ask the kind of questions that the Doctor like takes for granted at this point. Because like the Doctor, he takes for granted that this is the thing. I feel like here we go. We're really getting down to it now. I think Doctor Who, the show itself, feels like it now takes itself like for granted almost. Like it's so like, oh yeah, we're Doctor Who anyway. Oh, look at all this crazy continuity in these like crazy epic moments. And it's like no. Like scale that back a bit. We can focus on just like the core concept and make that like work, make that good. And I'd want there to, I'd want this companion to have like this curiosity to be able to find the simple joy in things that the Doctor isn't paying attention to, in like the small mundane things. Like they go like we've talked about what we do if you go back in time. Like the companion could go back in time and be like, they just get simple joy from being like, I want to have a a milkshake in like a 50s diner, like I was saying earlier. Like they just want to have some food, and the Doctor's so focused on like the bigger pictures of his travels that the companion's like, nah, like let's just like slow down for a second. But equally, the companion could be asking questions about like I had an idea for like an exchange where like the companion would be asking like what metal is like this spaceship made from. And the Doctor would be kind of like, be a bit like, what? Like, I've taken you, like, across the universe and you're asking me about, like, metal. But then the companion could kind of, like, challenge them a bit and be like, so, like, are you trying to tell me, like, you don't know? And then, like, maybe the Doctor has to kind of admit that, like, he's taken his eyes off of, like, the curiosity, the exploration, that is like, like, he reluctantly has to kind of be like, shut up, it doesn't matter. But like he doesn't actually know, like he doesn't know what metal the spaceship is made of. I don't know if any of this like makes sense, what I'm saying. I just like this idea of a interesting grey planks, this more kind of cynical, jaded Doctor who's got a bit of like a cheekiness Grumpy with a heart of gold, but we're not talking in like a Capaldi way, or even necessarily in like a Hartnell way, though they might be a bit closer to Hartnell than Capaldi. The inspiration for this character is actually, if you've seen Waterloo Road, it's Grantley Budgeon. So basically, imagine Grantley Budgeon, Philip Martin Brown's character, as the Doctor. You know, the exact same kind of sarcastic, cynical, like nasally, like whine to his voice, except he's like resolving time and space. He just does it with a bit of kind of like an attitude. God, that's dark. Yeah, that's kind of partly part of what I'd want to do with it. I feel like I've probably left some like details out. But the idea would be that like the Doctor regains their curiosity and their desire to travel. The Doctor, them and the companion, you know, they bring the best out of each other, because the companion, I wanted the companion to be, you know, a fairly, I think, identifiable person, someone who, I liked the idea of someone who feels like, again, and this will sound similar to Rose and other ones, but someone who feels like maybe they're not sure where they're going to fit into the world. They feel like maybe the world doesn't have, in a way that almost kind of maybe mirrors the Doctor's arc a little bit, they feel like the world doesn't offer the same, doesn't maybe have the opportunities for them that they thought it would have. They've grown kind of a little jaded and a little kind of like uncurious about the world around them. They've developed like low self-esteem, and they're just not convinced that there's much hope for them, like in the world, kind of thing. Not much. That makes it sound like really depressing, but like I feel like a lot of young people today can probably cope with the idea of being like, okay, like I'm going to uni, but like for what for? I'm getting a degree, but like will it actually be any use? Is there much of a mark left for me to make in this world? You know, with this, how fast it evolves, with how many daunting technologies are on our future. I mean, it goes all the way back to that kind of the attitude in from End of the World that, you know, you lot, you're always so worried about death, like you're gonna get killed by like roast beef and eggs or global warming or something like that. And yeah, like I think it should be someone who is their low self-esteem means that they're not actually pushing themselves to like get out into the world. Like they're not actually living. They don't believe that they're capable, and they're giving up on their dreams, kind of thing. And like by, you know, they meet the Doctor, they get this opportunity to do like quite literally like the most amazing thing like ever, you know, travel through time and space. And through those adventures, they develop, you know, self-confidence. They develop, they start to believe themselves in themselves more. They become more capable. But equally, they inspire that, you know, kind of curiosity and desire for discovery within the Doctor. Like in the end, like the Doctor encourages her, you know, to do more. You can go out there. You can do more. You're capable more than you imagine. And even if things don't always go well, like that doesn't mean it's the end of everything. And she can bring that kind of simple, just like joy and curiosity for the world, that kind of sense of like discovery, of reigniting with one's passions. Like they basically just bring out the best in each other. It'd just be this like slow friendship that forms where they go on adventures. And like I've got other ideas for like further down the line, but like that's what I'd want like the character core of it to be. The heart is, it's like two people influencing and enhancing each other's lives in a, I could just make copper tools, in a meaningful way. And I think that would be nice. And unfortunately, it's been so long since we've had an arc that's as simple as that. So, you know, are we going to get anything like that? I don't know. It feels unlikely, but we can only hope. Sleepy time. All right, let me keep up with the chat again. See what people are saying. Hang on, let me see. My stream is 3 minutes behind. Yeah, sorry, I might also be like behind a bit with certain things. 10 version 2. Oh, character limit, right, sorry, I see what you're saying. I might make it into a video essay. I wrote it as a very classic Who, maybe each story is like a two-parter, giving the story time to stretch its legs and such. I like that a lot. Again, I've always, as a kid, I gravitated towards like two-parters because they were, generally speaking, like they just felt like they had more time to achieve everything they needed to. A lot of single-parters can feel very rushed. I don't think Doctor Who is dying. It just needs creative people who give the show their own take. I mean, I agree with that. I think it's not that Doctor Who as a concept is dying. I think the problem is that the gatekeepers of Doctor Who, you know, the BBC in their weirdly like insular. Fucking hell. How many times have I done that now? Jesus Christ. I've lost all my wood as well. I need to get better at, I might have to like in future find a way to balance this whole like chat and playing Minecraft thing better, because like I am so I keep getting like really distracted and not playing Minecraft properly, but then like I'm really struggling to keep it up with all the comments. I mean, I'm pleased people are engaging, like that's lovely. But no, yeah, I agree that I think yeah, it's the BBC being really like selective on who can take charge of the show again feels weird. The fact that it has just been passed around the same small group of people also feels weird. And so I sort of feel like, yeah, it needs that creative injection. I think whether or not it will actually get it is the big question. And that's what will determine whether or not Doctor Who lives or dies. Is how willing will BBC actually be to give someone else a chance to try someone who isn't just the reliable, not even that reliable. Because let's be honest, like every single New Who era has had like significant issues plaguing it. Like the one that seems to have been the least problematic from a production point of view feels like the RTD era. And even then, that I don't want to hoe. Even then, that was far from perfect. You know, Series 1 messed behind the scenes, and Russell was like overworked by the end of it. It was so much work to bring it all together. Like he only just managed to achieve like getting the show on every year, and then Moffat comes along and the show can barely achieve getting on every year. So your Doctor is a middle-aged dad. Sort of, yes, middle-aged dad, slightly post-middle-aged, yeah, like probably like around the 50 to 60 range is my I tend to gravitate towards slightly older doctors, I think. Let's see what else have we got. Where he's willing to sacrifice people if that means he can save the day. Yeah, like, basically, yes. It's there's aspects of 12 in there, but it's also kind of slightly distinct from those, from him and One. The best way I can describe it is just Grantley Budger from Waterloo Road. Like, you just have to kind of, if you watch him, you'll have an idea of like how my Doctor would act. I'd also love to try and bring back maybe some more of that 60s, that mystery, that sense, you know, maybe over time, like we'll start with the Doctor choosing where they go, but over time it will kind of like fade. It will start to trend towards a slightly more like classic Who approach of like the random, god, my scroll wheel's so bad right now, like, you know, random landings and this sense of we don't know what's outside those doors. We could be anywhere in the universe. Like, that's what's so magical about like some of those early Hartnell episodes, is there's this sense of like everyone's out of their depth. No one knows what's outside of those doors. No one knows what they might discover. And that's really cool. Let's see what else we got. Finding joy in mundane things like Rose being existential after seeing the Earth destroyed. I could do with chips. Yeah, yes, exactly. Those kind of moments are lovely, and yeah, does a decent job of kind of surmising maybe what I would hope for. I think we should get a horse. I think I should make that my goal. Horse time. Idea episode. An episode where the Doctor and companion just chill out in a time period and no threat or anything is there. Just a pretty chill day out. Exactly. I actually feel like it'd be interesting to see, like, can Doctor Who do that? I once postulated the idea in the past of, Like, they stop in the... I keep coming back to this diner idea. I'm so sorry. They stop in the 50s, and, like, the plot isn't about, like, some gigantic world-ending threat or even, like, an alien invasion. It's just, like, they get chatting to, like, a guy who's, like, you know, trying to run a diner, and there's, like, a problem. They just kind of, like, chill and, like, help out. I mean, that's one thing that I think Black Orchid is actually really nice for. Like... There's some people who I think really dislike Black Orchid because it's a very untraditional Doctor Who story in many ways. But there was something really novel about seeing this TARDIS team that, you know, the Adric, Nyssa, Tegan, they're usually so, like, bickering and kind of unpleasant. Like, I'm not overly keen on that TARDIS team. And yet, just seeing them, like, chill out and dance and eat food and have these nice little character moments, like, Tegan shows Nyssa, like, how to do the Charleston or something like that. And it just winds up, it's like, hey, like, this is actually really nice. Like, you know, there were all these rules about storytelling, like, you've got to have conflicts, and you've got to have this. But then you have things like Studio Ghibli films that have light conflict, but manage to be a lot more like slice of life. And I am like, is there room for that within Doctor Who? Is there room for episodes that do just play it a bit more gentle, a bit more chill, that are allowed to be just a bit more of like a nice... I mean, I think that's one thing that Boomtown nearly does quite well, is that you do actually just get a bit of time to kind of like chill out with everyone. And yeah, like, I've had ideas. One idea I had, because I would love to do like a companion romance within my series, would be one where the companion they're gonna have like their first date, and they've said to the Doctor, like, try, like, no weird alien stuff, just try to kind of not get involved, try and like leave us alone if that's okay. And Doctor's like, I'll promise I'll keep out of your way. But then like some alien invasion plot like starts happening, and Doctor's like, oh shit. So he's like trying to stop the alien interruption like thing from like interrupting the date, which means he has to keep like turning up, or there's all these like narrow like close shaves where like you know, you can start off in the beginning, the companion's like, if we can just get one date with no funny business, okay? And Doctor's like, you know, I promise nothing will happen. I actually think that sounds like such a fun idea. Like, they spend the whole episode like running around, like trying to prevent I just fucked that up. Trying to prevent the date from getting ruined by the alien stuff, trying to prevent the, you know, trying to keep the companion like happy and so forth. It's just like a cute idea that I think would be fun. I've completely fucked it up now. Oh, no, it's ugly now. I'm going to have to... I can fix it over here. And... yeah, that'll be fine. So, yeah. I like that as an episode idea. Another idea relating to my, like, Grumpy Doctor would be that I thought as, like, a subversion. You know, you've got the whole classic New Who thing of, like, the first trip of, like, oh, where are we going to go? Let's choose a time period. And, like, we set off in the TARDIS together. Like, I like the idea that, like, the companion could be like, oh, like, so you're like, yeah, you're going to invite me on board? And he's like, hell yeah, like, I'll show you what I usually do. He doesn't say hell yeah, that's not really in character. But, like, you have this compilation of him, like, you know, like a quick cut kind of, like, Edgar Wright, like, action, like, thing of, like, he presses a button and he pulls a lever and he twiddles a thing, and then, like, the last shot is, like, a newspaper opening as he, like, sits back and puts his feet up. And the idea is that, like, the way this Doctor has been kind of like living, spending his time recently, is that he basically just puts the TARDIS, like, just lets the TARDIS kind of drift through, like, time and space, and just puts out, like, a distress, like, signal, like, seeker thing. Like he just, like, has an alarm on that notifies him if, like, a distress signal or, like, something weird happens. And when there's a call to action, he responds to it. And then, like, the companion's just there kind of like, so, like, are we going to go anywhere? Or, like, oh, is this what you usually do? And he's like, yep. And it's like, so are you not going to, like, take me anywhere? And he's like, nope. She's like, so this is just what you do? You just sit in here and wait for something to happen? He's like, yep. And yeah, just, like, and it adds into this idea that this Doctor he's not curious anymore. He's not going out there. He's not adventuring. He's not seeking. He's convinced he's gotten comfortable. He doesn't think he needs to... there's anything else for him to do, but he's still being the Doctor. Like I said, he's going through the motions, so he still swoops in and help, but that curiosity, that drive to discover just, like, isn't there anymore, and that would be reflected by the fact that he doesn't even pilot the TARDIS to locations. He just, like, lets it sit in, you know, in drift mode until something happens. And in the end, she kind of like bothers him and is like, "Oh, come on, like to actually take me somewhere proper." And he's like, "Oh, fine, God, fucking picky." Like, I'd also love to see if we can do an episode that like takes. I'd love to see more of the TARDIS in the show. Again, that's always hard to do because of like budgetary stuff, but it'd be nice to see more of what's inside the TARDIS. Like more rooms to get creative with that if we had the budget or the ability to do that. Just more. I like how in like certain classic episodes, like say I think Edge of Destruction, you have more scenes set in the TARDIS. You see more of like the living quarters, and it makes it feel like more than just a set. It's got more of a homely quality to it. The Heartland TARDIS can be quite cozy sometimes. Let's see what else have we got. Get someone to read chat for you. I don't know how would I do that. I don't have. I guess. Yeah, I guess I should I hire someone or something. What else have we got? This live. See, this was like my actual survival world as well that I was like enjoying playing. And I've just died and lost shit so many times at this point. I probably should have started a new world or something. Because I've just kind of wandered into this one a bit like aimlessly. Oh no. Pillagers. I don't like the villager designs. I have a mod that changes them, but it didn't change the pillagers for some reason. I am saddened by that because I don't like the Squidwards. I don't think they look good. Right. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Do I have any wood? Okay. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get some wood. And I'm going to get an axe. And maybe I'll go tree chopping for a bit. Oh, excuse me. I'm a huge fan of slice of life stuff. It would be fun to see Doctor Who do something like that. I agree. I think if there's anything in terms of like, you know, what can the show be? How can we experiment with the show? I think a more slice of life approach at certain points could be the way to do that. You know? Joy to the World should have been 15 helping that hotel. Again, yeah, that stuff with Anita, that was the best stuff in the episode. Anita wound up being, like, you know, the best character and someone who I was like, hey, I'd actually give a shit about seeing this. And you know what? She's not even, like, from the present... Oh, no, she's from the present day, isn't she? She was made the employee of the Time Hotel at the end. I got confused. She's someone, again, yeah, that's a perfect example of, like, that's a more compelling companion concept than Ruby. Someone where, like, the Doctor befriends this woman and... they formed what felt like a slightly real relationship over this course of a year where he's stranded. And then, like, yeah, I would have loved to see what she would have made of, like, traveling in the TARDIS and going off and exploring. Like, it's very weird, isn't it? Could imagine Christopher Eccleston acting really well in that segment. Thank you. I would, yeah. I think that's the thing is, obviously, Christopher Eccleston was my first Doctor. I like him a lot. And so a certain amount of what I think of as the Doctors is probably going to be influenced by him. Right, let's not take all my fucking possessions with me. Your description of this Doctor's give me Seven at the start of the TV movie vibes, feet up in a newspaper. I know he definitely has his feet up. I don't know, is he reading the newspaper though? I know he's listening to music and eating jelly babies out of like some like glass, like posh candy dish or something. Oh, I made a pickaxe. I meant to make an axe. Bloody hell, I'm really good at this game. Never play. I feel like I've not slept well recently. I think my head's not entirely with it today, which is why I'm being a bit stupid when it comes to the game. I think trying to balance talking about Doctor Who and playing Minecraft at the same time is proving to be more than my horse. But no apples. Stay there, sir. Ooh, 2. No, that's a donkey. It's basically the noise he made. Stop doing that. Yeah, sorry for dying again. I'm very silly. There's so much potential still there with the Doctor Who format. I don't think we're going to get it unless RTD goes and the show stays on rest for a while. When it came back, I'd consider doing a third Doctor and Earth locking. See, I would also be tempted by that idea. The thing is that I've said this before, but the aesthetic of Series 1, that kind of gritty urban aesthetic that it had, where it took place in these really ordinary locations, these very like British working class locations of street corners and alleyways and like children's play parks, and there was graffiti and there was litter and everything felt very raw and real and lived in. And even the what was I going to say? Fucking hell. The aesthetic, it was... Hang on. I'm losing my marbles right now. Because of that aesthetic, it gave it this grounded sense that like it really took place in like our world. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Like, even the way the show started back in 1963, it was like a mundane location. It was a school and it was a junkyard. And I do think Doctor Who's relationship with like the ordinary is actually quite an important part of its identity. Why have I not been using this axe? I'm such an idiot. And I just know that when I go round like my hometown or like where I live now, there are so many areas that resemble things from that, you know, early Series 1 and a little bit of Series 2 kind of era of Doctor Who. Equally, there are things that resemble stuff from Classic Who. There was a lot of industry around where I grew up, and even where I live now, there's a lot of like, you know, old industrial estates and factories, and that really resembles stuff from like the Pertwee and Troughton era, and other parts of Doctor Who. And I feel like, for me, what was so special partly about Doctor Who when I first discovered it is that it really felt like something that took place like in my world. That transformed the world I saw around me and made it into like, you know, extra mysterious. Like, ooh, like, what is, you know, happening in that weird factory down the road from me? Like, are they making Cybermen in there? What if, you know, Yetis were wandering, you know, down like the alleyways near my house and so forth? What if, you know, what if there was what's under that bridge? What's down that corner? All that kind of stuff. And I do think, like, I obviously love the expansiveness of the universe, you know, the chance to explore anything, go to any time period, but I do think there's also potentially some potential. It's not a bad idea, potentially, to recenter the program on Earth for like a little bit. I don't think it should be like the only thing, but I feel like regrounding it, and that's kind of what Series 1 does in a way, you know, it... Apple. It makes it... most of those stories take place either on Earth or near Earth, and yet I don't feel like I'm like hungering for variety in that season. Like, each story feels like it has a very clear apple, a very clear like role and goal and identity. So yeah, like I think there's some truth that like, and as well because with the way Doctor Who's gone recently, its identity feels like it's so influenced by like other popular media, like it's trying to crib from Marvel or Star Wars or A24 or Black Mirror or Stranger Things or Bridgerton or freaking something else. That it starts to feel a bit like the show actually is lacking an identity. Like the identity it's putting forward doesn't feel so much like it's going, hey, this is what Doctor Who is, and here's why you should care. It feels like it's going, hey, look, here's another show that can do stuff just like those other things you like. Please give us a chance. Please give us attention. So yeah, I feel like the show doubling down on more of a clear identity for itself. Those horses have just fucked off. Would be good. It'd be good. It'd be good. You think Seven's reading the time machine? Oh, he might be. That does feel like the kind of, you know, hardy ha like thing they'd put in. So he might be. He might have been. Oh, man, where are all the horses? Would it be crazy to revisit some previous Doctors and their companions, but recast for a limited run? I think if you're on about TV, I'm not so sure. I think you'd have to market something like that very carefully so that people know llama, what they're, or that might be a camel actually. People know what they're getting in for. Otherwise, I think there is a risk of alienating people. I think that's the kind of stuff that like Big Finish tends to dabble in. Like I don't know, if like flesh out your idea more, like tell me more about what you actually see. Oh my god, what you see. I just heard a zombie, probably like over there, because you know it might not necessarily be like a terrible idea, but I think you'd have to be careful about how you release that. I feel like it would have to be a spin-off rather than like the main show. I had an idea where an older male doctor meets a companion, and on their first adventure he leaves her alone in a spacesuit with a crew of people to do something, and as soon as... Oh, I'm going to be anxiously anticipating the next part of that. Right. I've caught up with chat now, so maybe I can actually, like, freaking focus my brains on actually doing something proper in this game. If you just give me 1 second, I'm just going to have some water. Excuse me. So, Evil Dalek just asked about, do I think the show will go on hiatus? I think that's a really tricky question to ask, because, or to answer. I swear, recently they released like a press statement saying like, the BBC being like, oh, even without Disney's funding, like, the BBC has plans to continue Doctor Who. I thought that was said recently. So I could be wrong. But I think I really don't know. I don't know if the Billy Piper thing has been done because Russell's just like, we can't end it on an open-ended once regeneration. Like, we need something else. We need something to pull people back in, or like this is his pitch for whoever next takes up distribution. I might need a saddle. What? Oh, aye. Do they eat sugarcane? Wait, they eat... Horses have sugar lumps in real life. Or maybe they're not supposed to. Maybe it's like ducks and bread. Actually, I think it is like ducks and bread, isn't it? Like, you're not meant to give them sugar lumps. Anyway. I'm gonna... I should probably block this off or something. Yeah, will it get renewed? I do feel like the brand is, like, badly damaged at this point. I feel like whatever move the show does next, it needs to find a way to, like, inspire confidence in it again. Just want to mine this out a little bit. Because the way it is right now, I just think that, like... I mean, ultimately, it's like... are we trying to make Doctor Who a show that's like mass successful, or are we trying to make Doctor Who a show that curates a dedicated audience, a small but dedicated audience? I think Doctor Who's a hard one because everyone has so many ideas about what the show should be. Like, the amount of times that I've tried to share an idea I had for the show that I think is pretty like uncontroversial as like a perspective of like times in the past I've been like, oh, I think it's fair to say that Doctor Who's generally has a reputation as being like a scary show, and people will be like, is Doctor Who considered a scary show? And I'm like, yes, I thought that was kind of part of its like foundational cultural identity. Is like, I'm not saying it's like the scariest thing ever, but it's like a show that was accessible for families, that was considered scary enough to scare children. It's probably not scary for like adults, though definitely has the potential to be, but more so that they're hiding behind the sofa and the every adult back when Doctor Who came back, the thing they'd always talk about, like, this is the episode that scare me, these are the monsters that scare me. And yet I've had people be like, I disagree. I don't think the show's identity is meant to be scary. I think it's meant to be a goofy, silly variety show in space. And I'm like, again, you can't unite anyone on a perspective of what the show should be. Back when I've like discussed how I feel, what I think the show's identity should be, like, I think that juxtaposition between the ordinary and the extraordinary, the taking mundane everyday things and turn them into something that's scary or exciting. Again, I thought that was a fairly uncontroversial thing to like state as like a core identity for the show. And I had people being like, no, I don't think that's the point of the show. Or people being like, nah, Earth is boring. The show, or no, people arguing the show doesn't have any identity. It's meant to be whatever. It's all fluid, and even like people arguing like the show isn't sci-fi, which is, I get why people would say that, because it's like at the end of the day, it's not hard sci-fi, but like it has aesthetic trappings of sci-fi in a way that to me justifies calling it sci-fi. I think. And it's when you're talking about in the sense of like, what does a casual audience expect from Doctor Who? I think they expect it to Don't go in there, mate. Don't go in there, mate! Mate! What? Where's he gone? Where the fuck is he? He nearly walked straight into the lava. Where's this? I can't hear him. Well, I can hear him, but I can't see. Where the What? Guys, what just happened? Where is he? Guys, what just happened? You saw that, right? Dude just vanished. Is he snooking somewhere? I can hear him. I can freaking hear him. Sorry, I've got a mod on that makes the villagers into cats because I don't like the Squidwards. Oh! What are you? What are you? Oh, you were. What? What are you doing in my house? That's all fucking shit. That's nothing. Get out, man. Get out. Leave. But excuse me. This is my fridge, I'll have you know. Anyway. So, looks like I do have some iron after all. I can have a shovel. I'll take that, mum. So, like, what was I saying? I'm so sorry. I keep getting distracted. People disagree about what Doctor Who should be like all the time, to a frustrating degree. People are very opinionated about what the show should be. Again, I was trying to argue, like, for a general audience, I think they... Oh, Calder's 8, not... Yeah, I screwed that up a bit. For a general audience, like, I think they imagine the show to take itself at least a little bit seriously, because they have that sort of shared cultural memory of like, oh yeah, it was a bit of a scary show kind of thing. And if you then, when the show's being the way it has been recently with, like, say, you know, Space Babies or the Singing Goblins on Church of Ruby Road, like, I'm just convinced a general audience will look at that and they're not going to have the encyclopedic knowledge of your average Doctor Who fan to be like, well, oh, come on, you know, we had Love and Monsters back in the day. That was a silly episode. It's like, how many, like, the ones people remember, the ones that were good that stayed with them. You know, when you talk to casual audiences, they're always like, oh, the Gas Mask Kids, and or like, oh, the Weeping Angels. And so I don't think it's controversial to say, like, say the show's identity was a bit more serious about, you know, being scary. But the problem is that, again, people are so every single opinion on what Doctor Who should be is, like, basically correct, because the show has been so many things in the past, and it starts to get like, there is no kind of one size, you know, one glove fits all, one size fits all solution for Doctor Who, because everyone's, what really appeals to someone, what is someone, one person's quintessential Doctor Who is not going to be another person's. And then it just gets kind of mind-numbing to try and keep up with that after a while. Like, is it even possible to cultivate a small... But can you leave, sir? It gets really difficult to cultivate, like, a small, dedicated audience, I think, with that kind of... When, for years at a time, the show can be stylistically, like, not what you want. And so, yeah, at the same time, I think... So, I mean, that is kind of why, like, maybe you do have to pick and choose an audience. Like, maybe you can't have Doctor Who be the do-anything show that kind of Russell... It feels like Russell's trying to make it, you know, a show in which there are no rules, you know, you can do... We can have an episode that's stylistically like this and an episode that's like this. You know, let's put back-to-back, like, an episode that's, like, grittier sci-fi, like Boom, with an episode that's all, you know, fantasy musicals, like The Devil's Chord, or, you know, something silly like Space Babies. It's tonally confusing, and, like, someone who might have enjoyed, you know, 73 Yards, or whatever, there's no guarantee that they would stick around if the first 45-minute episodes of the show that they consume is something like Space Babies, where it's just like, well, like, no thank you. Not for me. Where is that Hans has him done a runaway? Oh, another one. Well, if I can't find that first guy, then I might have to get that other guy instead. Sadly, I've got old animal spawning rules on, which is good in some ways, but equally means that they fuck off a lot. So I might have to, like, change the chunk render distance. You guys are so greedy. But maybe we can be friends. How do I make a saddle? How do I make a saddle? Don't go anywhere. Oh, wait. Was that the other guy? Hang on. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. This motherfucker is still here. Oh my god. Has he disappeared again? I think this is the problem. He glitches. He, like, sometimes in here. I've never had this badly before. He was here a second ago, wasn't he? Why are you having maybe let me take a little moment to see if I can adjust it just a bit. He's Nope. No, you are still invisible. Okay, weird. Cool. Fine. Sure. Saddle. I was going to try and make a saddle. I feel like I probably need 1 iron for that. And 1 iron. Leather. Leather. God, it's probably going to need 3 iron, isn't it? Cool. Okay, never mind. Right. So yeah, future of the show, I guess is what we're talking about. It'd be lovely to see Doctor Who be popular, because every so often Doctor Who is able to kind of it sorts itself out. Every so often Doctor Who comes along and reminds everyone just how good it can be and why people even love it in the first place, and that's always a lovely thing when that happens. But it's not been doing that. I think it's been doing stuff that actively like repels people from the show in recent years, and that's a problem. It's like has too much damage been done? Personally, is a thing. Personally, I do not count anything like after Capaldi as like real. I realize that might sound like dodgy or controversial. I have been down here. I just don't count it. It does nothing for me. I think the storytelling is actively like bad, and that's not even me saying that I loved all the storytelling they did through like the Capaldi, Smith, and Late Tennant stuff. Like, it's just that yeah, I can't in good conscience watch the show and be like, yeah, you know, Time's Child, that happened, yep. David Tennant coming back, that happened, yep. Billy Piper becoming the Doctor, that happened, as well as any of the other like stupid continuity stuff we've had recently. It's like, no, this is not. I'm not going to count this. I don't think this should be officially recorded as like having happened. So like, yeah, I know that sounds. It's just that's just how I choose to feel about it. I think that truly the damage they've done is so much that I don't accept it. I don't think it's real. I don't count it. It's the illusion of Doctor Who as one consistent narrative or TV show. That's, you know, that's long gone at this point. There are too many contradictions in Doctor Who's history to even pretend that it's trying to be one coherent thing. So at this point, Doctor Who's more of a concept, and a concept that I think needs to kind of forget, like to de-baggage itself every so often and to like start with a cleaner slate. Because at the end of the day, it's the concept that's more important than. Sir, can you go? It's the concept that's more important than the like the lore, if you know what I mean. See, he's back now. See, is it like a nighttime thing? Is it that like at night I can't see you, but I can see you in the day for some reason? Can you go? Can you Oh, well, that's all right then. Get out, man. Right. Okay. We didn't see anything. I don't care what you're talking about. Hearing things. The cat. Anyway. General audiences don't like deep sci-fi concepts though. So when I say that, I didn't mean that like general audiences want deep sci-fi. I mean more that like general audiences want a semblance of believability and groundedness. Like they want the show to feel somewhat real. Whenever you hear like what's the point in which general audiences tune out of Doctor Who, it's either A, when the show does something too silly, like they, you know, I don't mind the adipose, but like I can see why some more casual audiences would be a bit like, it's not really, is that what really, that's the monster, little fat things. And equally, I think the other time when the show will lose people is when it gets too complicated. when it's too lore focused and it's too much like, oh, remember me, Doctor, I am this character, ain't that freaking wild? Oh, the Doctor, like, you know, I think general audience, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like general audiences have a mindset of like, oh, they want to be able to sit down and go like, that's the Doctor, that's the companion, this is the episode. Like, here's the plot we're doing this week. Whereas, have I lost that horse? Oh! Whereas, oh, he's still here, the dickhead. The way Doctor Who's been handled now, it's like, you can tune into an episode and just be like, I don't know what I don't know what this is meant to be, I don't know where we're picking up from, like, what's going on, who's the Doctor... I think the Chibnall era, when we started doing, you know, the Timeless Child and like the Ruth Doctor stuff, is the kind of thing where I'm like, that's just, I think you're gonna lose casual audiences with that. So yeah, I didn't mean that like casual audiences are craving sci-fi. I meant that like casual audiences are craving a show that takes itself somewhat seriously, and that, you know, that feels like it plays within the rules of its identity. So, you know, with Doctor Who, you would expect there to be, you know, fantastical things, but for them to be explained in a semi like cohesive, believable way, where you can go like, okay, yes, I understand. I see why you know, they have talked around this enough to make it believable as something that takes place in the universe. The minute you get singing goblins, it's like, who is this for? This is for the audience that is comfortable with camping their Doctor Who. And yeah, like, that's not going to be everyone, and I don't think that's casual viewers necessarily. I hope I'm making sense, Catman. Which is why I think the show needs a break, let it rest for a while. When it comes back, people might actually be excited for it, same as in 05. Saying it's a no-rules show just makes me feel like he doesn't want to be controlled and just wants to do what he wants. It's such a get-out-of-jail-free card for any writing tone of criticism. I agree with that as well. I think people do have a habit of over-prescribing the it's a show with no rules, it can be anything thing. I think... Same with people who have the whole, like, oh, there is no canon mindset. Like, I tried to make a post a few weeks ago discussing some of these ideas, and I just happened to mention offhandedly, like, oh, it seems like part of Russell's approach recently is to sort of, you know, he's say, you know, throwing caution to the wind. He's saying, like, you know, who cares about canon, you know, anything goes kind of thing. And that's all I said, was saying, like, that's what I thought Russell's approach was. And someone was like, sorry, you lost me the minute you said that anything about canon. Sorry, Doctor Who has no canon, you can't say. And I'm like, wait, whoa, I wasn't even saying that, like, Russell's approach to canon was, like, bad or not. Like, I don't personally like it. I was just trying to say that, like, it feels like his approach to the show is to say, I'm not going to focus on canon. And yet people are so, like, brain sick online. It's like, you mentioned canon. Sorry, bro. Doctor Who doesn't have a canon, and you're a silly dum-dum if you think it should do, kind of thing. Again, people are very reactive these days, and I think my personal perspective is that Doctor Who should not be restricted by its canon, but it should try and have what feels like some semblance of, like, an internal kind of consistency. So that means stuff like, we're not going to do an Ian Levine and get worried that, like, you can't call this ship this name because 20 years ago there was a ship that had a similar name and people are going to get confused. It's like, no, we don't have to worry about that. That's fine. However, just been like, oh, the Cybermen were actually never the Cybermen and they came from, like, a different planet. Not saying that they've done that, obviously, but something that just, like, massively changes and recontextualizes things seemingly arbitrarily, or someone's just like, oh, well, like, you know, let's say by regeneration, it's like, sorry, you're just introducing this new, like, very significant game-changing thing and kind of not taking enough time to really, like, explain it or introduce it properly, and it's not even clear how it works, and then you're going on to be like, and every single Doctor is bi-regenerated, and it's like, oh dear lord, no. Like, this is that's an example where I'm like, no, like, I feel like that goes against canon. Like, I think that kind of breaks the flow of the show a bit. And I think, yeah, so it's like, canon should be respected, but it shouldn't be like... And I think that's another thing of... God, I'm so good at staying on one topic. there were times during the Moffat era where he would mess with like established parts of the show's identity in a kind of a funny, like cack-handed, like haha, you know, we're not taking ourselves seriously way that used to quite irritate me. The reason being is that like the things like the Dalek casing like translating Clara, it was like a little thing where I'm like, I see what you're trying to do, but it feels like maybe you've underthought like the implications of this. Or perhaps a slightly better example would maybe be something like, oh, I mean, there's, for example, there's the whole like, you know, Jenna Coleman being in like the Doctor's timeline, where on the one hand, yes, that nothing, it's not that Clara, you know, influenced the Doctor to be who he was today. Clara was obviously saving the Doctor's past, keeping it on track from all the changes that the Great Intelligence had inflicted upon his timeline. At the same time, it still means you have to kind of reconcile this idea that, like, oh yeah, so, like, there's 1,001 Claras all throughout the Doctor's time stream, like, telling him what to do and, like, telling him what ship to get. Like, even though it's just reverting the canon back to the status quo, it's now something we have to reconcile with, like, yep, that's now a thing. There's, like, a bajillion Claras. Same with, like, oh, we have to reconcile the Sutek thing. Oh, there's Sutek's apparently been sat on the TARDIS since the Pyramids of Mars. What are the implications of that? And, like, another example of that would be how Moffat would like to make jokes about, like, some of the hallmarks of Doctor Who, like the TARDIS noise being the brakes being left on, where ultimately it's a fairly harmless, funny little joke, like, haha, yeah, this, like, iconic sound is just the brakes being left on, and we thought it was this, like, magical, whimsical sound, and, like, I get that. I get the humour. Like, I get the joke, and I can even see someone making an argument to be like, that's actually very in the spirit of Doctor Who, because it's kind of, you know, Doctor Who is a bit weird and quirky. But then, again, equally, I look at it and I kind of go, but, like, the bloody hell, sometimes my brain just, like, completely loses exactly where I was. The TARDIS noise thing, that's what we were on about. It's taking something that was, like, this celebrated, like, iconography of the show, the TARDIS noise, this thing that, you know, was treated with reverence in the Russell era as, like, the first time that Rose hears the TARDIS noise, she doesn't see the TARDIS disappear, so you just hear this weird, like, rasping of the engines, and it acts as this, like, signifier of, like, he's coming, and it's, like, this classic, iconic piece of sound design. You, mate, you have overstayed your welcome far too long. So, like, it's this weird thing of, when he makes a joke about it, when he renders it as like, haha, yeah, actually, this iconography, this, like, iconic sound, this beloved sound, yeah, it's just the Doctor leaving the brakes on because he's a dumb. It comes across a bit like, it feels like you're not really respecting the show when you do something like that. It feels like you are undermining it a little bit. It feels like you're kind of not treating it with maybe the reverence it deserves, and turning it into something to be kind of laughed at. And it's moments like that when I'm kind of like, that's where, I don't want to be a stick in the mud, but I probably would try and argue for some kind of, like, yeah, I feel like maybe don't do that. Like, maybe don't have such a cavalier attitude towards the show, like, the elements of the show. Yeah, I just think canon shouldn't restrict us, but it should be respected. It shouldn't allow, the show shouldn't make a mockery of itself, nor should it tie itself in knots with, like, really confusing continuity. Oh, I might be able to make a saddle after I get this, although I have lost my haunts, so, you know. For what purpose? Who knows? But I'll see if I can... This man, this feline fellow... Wait, did he just leave? No, he's still here. It is the night time. No! He's drinking invisibility, but oh! Fuck me. Oh my god. How the fuck do other people talk for so long? Dear god. Yeah. He's drinking invisibility potions, that's why I can't see him. Oh my god, I'm tired. Anyway, yeah, I kind of went... I covered a lot of ground there, so I guess... You probably roughly got an idea of my thoughts at this point. Let me see. I'm just gonna like catch up a bit with what people are saying. Oh no, my phone's just died. I'll have to do this via the browser. Give me 1 sec. He's in Viz. They drink a potion at dusk, but with a little murder, you can get 2 free leads for your horse. Oh! So I can kill him, I see. Okay. What's your thoughts on Series 10? So Series 10 is usually ranked as one of my more preferred ones for me. It felt to me like after how exhausting like Series 6 and 7 of Matt Smith was, and how exhausting Series 8 and 9 of Capaldi kind of were. Don't get me wrong, there are things I like in those, don't get me wrong. But to me, it feels like Series 10 just stripped out some of the baggage. Because you have to keep in mind, Series 8 and 9 were dealing with Clara, who was introduced in, like, you know, early 2012. So by Series 9, it's like we'd had Clara in the show for 3 years at that point. And it was just a bit like, bloody hell. Like, we are so ready for this character to leave. Because it's felt like she's defined so much of this Doctor's run. To the point that he hasn't even maybe had a chance to define it as much. And then suddenly, Clara, like, you get this nice clean slate. And not every episode is great. There's actually quite a few that are far from great in Series 10. But then there are some really solid ones in there. And just the general kind of approach, the fact that it's like, it's a chance for like a new companion Doctor dynamic after so long. And it's just a little bit of breathing space for the show. And it was like, it allowed Capaldi like a slightly fresher start. So yeah, like I like Series 10. It's probably ranked like third or fourth for me. I think like Series 1 is top. And then I really don't know what I'd put next. Like either Series 5 or Series 2, which might sound really controversial. There's just too much in Series 3 and 4 that like pisses me off. But then they also have some of like the very best episodes of all time in Series 3 and 4. It's just that they're so uneven. Series 2 is really solid at points, but then it also is quite uneven. But I feel like the weighting of that series, you get more good episodes throughout, which means that Series 2 is a more consistently like engaging experience. It's like the first 2 episodes are a bit weak, but they're not the most offensive to me. And then Girl in the Fireplace is good. The Cyberman 2-parter I think is pretty solid. The Ood 2-parter is good. The Idiot's Lantern is a bit weaker, but it's not like offensive. I don't even hate Love and Monsters that much, though it definitely has weird choices in it, especially at the end. And then Fear Her is pretty shit. And then it's the finale, which is generally fairly like pretty decent. It just like does drop the ball in a few areas, and Rose's departure is a little bit contrived. But like people always rank Series 2 really low. I think Series 2 is fine. I think Series 2 is when you do like both, you have to keep in mind like the aesthetic quality of Series 2, like the fact that it still has some of that Series 1 identity to it. I probably like it as much as 3 and 4, maybe even slightly more. And then Series 10 fits it, like Series 5 and 10 also fit in there somewhere with series that like I'd probably put 5. Would I put 5 above 3 and 4? Because 5 has freshness on its side, and it has that promise of something new and a clean slate. Again, like Series 10. But then, I'd say the highs of Series 5 don't ever get as high as the highs of Series 1 to 4. I think the highs of Series 5 kind of, it kind of peaks with the 11th hour, and then kind of drops off a little bit after that, to be honest. See what else have we got. Headcanon for the TARDIS breaks. Doctor knows he's not dumb. He doesn't care. He could fight silently, but he's CBA. Yes, it's a stretch. No, that's like obviously like that's fine. Like I think I just prefer the idea that no, the TARDIS like does just make that sound. That is the sound of the TARDIS engines, and we don't change that kind of thing. So like, you know, again, it's one thing. It's something that I just go, I'm gonna ignore that. I'm just gonna ignore it. I'm going to pretend it didn't happen. This is the thing. At this point, I mean, New Who is already like a sort of an adaptation of Classic Who. So it's like, how much do you even need to like count it really? Like there's a lot of it that I'm like, well, this is, I mean, hell, Doctor Who as a whole. At this point, Doctor Who's been so many things, it's like, I can probably just pick and choose the bits that I actually want to count. I don't know, it's like, I'm under no illusion that this show has, like, an internal continuity at this point, because it's just so fucked. I'm seeing... So, what other people... Jane Theory, it literally has sequels to episodes from the 60s, manages not to conflict with them. I'd have to rewatch stuff like Attack of the Cybermen, because when I did rewatch that, when I watched that most recently, I found the heavy continuity a bit off-putting. But I think that's purely because, I mean, I don't know if the story exactly delivers what I'm looking for from a story anyway, but also, I think the heavy continuity, I can't help but always think about the audience, like the wider audience, who I'm like, yeah, I might know what Tomb of the Cybermen is, but fuck me, like, people might really struggle to know what the hell's actually going on. I mean, I don't know, like, I'd have to rewatch it. I just remember there's a lot about Attack of the Cybermen that I didn't necessarily, like, love. There's a lot about... I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, whatever. It's like, I can respect it in some ways, but I think there are ways in which you can argue that maybe it's a little alienating. Series 5 is epic. Series 3 is great, but the total waste of Martha holds it back. Yeah. I'd put Series 5 above 2, 3, and maybe 4, depending on the day. It's a hard one, isn't it? I think it's like... I would have traditionally in the past put Series 5 above all of them. But on my most recent watch through, I kind of was going, you know what? As much as I like Series 5, I don't think any one of these stories are like an all-time, like... I love it, for me. And equally, there are parts of, like, Series 5, yeah, like it's carried a lot for me by, I think, just that sense of freshness, that newness, that idea that we're going forward, we're trying something different, it's a new, clean slate, and I think Matt Smith does an excellent job. I love how, I think Matt Smith is at his best in that series. I think after that, his character gets a bit flanderized, maybe. I worry that a lot of audiences have been trained to be overly anal about a lot of things and either obsess over everything canon or refuse to accept that it has any canon. Yeah, I know what you mean. It does feel like it's polarized into two extremes, isn't it? And it's just not very balanced. I feel like one of the things that needs to happen for Doctor Who to thrive again is to retrain audiences, not just to be terminally online. Yep, I agree. I think Russell's idea of, generating content and making this such like an online focused version of the show did not play in the show's favor, sadly. I think I do prefer 11's characterization in that series, at least compared to 10. Do you mean compared to the 10th Doctor? Because I would agree. It was it was so refreshing. Matt Smith was so refreshing because unlike basically every other person in the fucking world, I was actually really ready for like him to go, David Tennant, because I was just like, oh, like I found the melodrama of his late run really not easy to like deal with. Okay, so I'm probably gonna... I didn't know how long this was gonna go on for, how long I'll do this for, but it's actually gone on a bit longer than I meant it to. Sorry that it's not been like the most focused gameplay thing. I don't know, hopefully you guys enjoy listening to my thoughts, or hopefully you will enjoy listening back to it. Here's what I want to know. So, I've had so many video ideas. Every single day, I have video ideas. There's so much I want to share and document when it comes to things like Doctor Who and other projects. Like I said, I've got those ideas about a video that talks about what I would like to do with Doctor Who. I've got ideas for retrospectives. I've got even just ideas for like random video reviews on I should try and make that saddle on episodes from the past. Sharing I don't know if any of you are familiar with Scott the Woz, sorry. Scott the Woz has his own, he's got a channel called Scotch Stash where he'll just kind of do like random, slightly kind of more relaxed videos where he just talks about like a random subject, and like the amount of times that I see one, I'm like, I swear he's done that video already, but it's like, oh no, it's just like a slight variation. Like there's one where he might just talk about, I heard a meow again. Is he still around? Bloody hell. There's one where he's like talking about, like, I swear he's done so many talking about Mario Kart at this point, and it's like, what else is there to say? But he finds stuff to say. And so I'm just curious, like, would you guys be interested in... What? Would you guys be interested in a... How the fuck do you make a saddle? String? I swear it used to take iron to make a saddle. Maybe I'm thinking of like a really old like beta recipe or something. So yes, what was I going to say? I have like video ideas and things I want to share. I want to talk about like different like Doctor Who memories, like thoughts on different episodes and eras. Things like, I don't know if any of you guys, I don't know how early you guys got into Doctor Who, but for me, like, as someone who got into it the same year that it came back, 2005, and got into Classic Who, like, really soon after that, I experienced a bit of that kind of wilderness years funk, that kind of funky twang, that funky flavour of the wilderness years, because even though Doctor Who was back, it was only just back, and sort of the rest of the world hadn't quite caught up yet. It's like all this new stuff was coming out related to Doctor Who, but then like it was all new Who stuff. And like as someone delving into Classic Who without, you know, I only really had, you know, my mum's sort of vague memories of what she watched as a kid to like guide me through it. But there was no one to like really explain all the ins and outs of like the canon and the lore. And I couldn't just like, it wasn't that easy for me to like find clips from it because we only had dial-up internet, and at that point internet was kind of like YouTube wasn't nearly as established at that point, and you couldn't just like find loads of like you can access so many you can access so many like clips and like nearly like full episodes these days, and it's available streaming on so many things. But there's this time where it's like Classic Who content was kind of hard to find, and on top of that, like merchandise or things related to Classic Who were kind of hard to find, and I don't know, like there was this kind of slight like post Wilderness Years vibe where it's like, oh, Doctor Who's back, but it's not fully established yet. It's not fully dominating over the. I really want one of your leads. Did I just? Okay, weird. Like Doctor Who was. Is that my other guy? No, I had a blah. Oh no! Fucking hell! Oh my god! Why did I build in lava? Anyway, yeah, it'd be fun to talk about some of that stuff. Like do you guys remember like the Product Enterprise action figures, or like the Corgi diecast, like little model sets? Like that was like, I don't know, it felt like there was this period of time where like I had to really unearth a lot of like the Classic Who information, and that like, you know, we didn't have any Classic Who toys, but then like there were these weird leftovers, like the Daypol or the Product Enterprise stuff that was like, oh, what is this? Like I can get like a big like talking Cyberman figure, but then I can't really get like anything else. Yeah, I don't know. As well as just like other nostalgic memories. Anyway, I'll probably be like whittling down the stream now if that's like chill with you guys. I'll just like finish off some questions. It's been a good chat. Thank you. I'm glad it's been a good chat. I genuinely think the Time Lord Victorious is the biggest wasted potential in terms of characterization. Yes, I will try and make sure the live stream is kept up. I will try and find a way to make that happen. And I agree that the Time Lord Victorious stuff was a waste of character. I think there was potential there with what they did with Tennant, and they just didn't deliver on it. Scott the Woz is one of my inspirations. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Glad you're on my wavelength then. I remember hiding behind the sofa for Gelth and Empty Child, and then once my dad knew I properly liked it, he showed me old Third Doctor episodes. My dad mostly used UK TV Gold, showed me old episodes. Yeah, it's all these things, like these ways of trying to, like, get a hold of, like, old episodes. You know, you'd have to record it off of the TV, or you'd have to, like, you know, track down some old VHS tape of it at, like, a car boot sale, because you couldn't just pull up loads of clips for it. And, like, often all you'd have would be, like, you know, books that had images. So, like, I'd look at a story like, you know, The Invasion, which I was obsessed with watching for so long as a kid, and yet I couldn't access it until it got released on DVD, because, like, I didn't know there was a VHS release, and it was like 10 years before my time. That they came out in, like, 93. The chances of me stumbling upon that VHS tape at a random car boot sale, so slim. So then to be able to, I need to keep away from this fucking lava patch again. Yeah, like, I all I had were the kind of, like, the images to watch, like these images to look at, and to, like, invent the rest of the story, like, in my head, to fill in the gaps. And yeah, I think, like, it was a different time. You know, it very much colorized. It very much colored that early experience of Doctor Who for me, and means that when people talk about, like, the vagueness of the wilderness years, I kind of relate to it, and, like, it felt like I had a little bit of my own wilderness years, whilst classic Who was still kind of catching up with modern Who. And as well, like, just little things like you'd stumbled upon, like, dimensions in time, and I'd be like, what is this? What the hell is this? Oh my god, there's, like, loads of doctors, but why is it so shit? Like, this is so cool, but then it's also crap at the same time. Why was this made? Like, I'd have no context for it. I'd just find it somewhere, like, online, and be like, oh, is this, whoa, like, a multi-doctor store I didn't know about, but, like, what is this? I don't know if any of you guys can relate. Anyway, yes, I have made zero progress in this world. I have died a bajillion times. I think it's probably about time for me to call it quits today. But that's another thing. If you guys would be up for any more, like, live streams in the future, let me know. If you like the idea of some of the videos I've suggested, let me know. Because I really do want to do more stuff. I think it's just getting over that hump of, like, getting it out. I put a lot of pressure on myself to, like, try and make things perfect, and because of that, things never get released. I recorded that 2-hour-long video discussing Rose for the 25th anniversary, and then it got blocked into oblivion by the BBC, and I just kind of sort of lost the drive to try and, like, fix it so it wouldn't get blocked at that point. So, like, yeah, I don't know. Either way, I hope you guys have enjoyed the stream, and yeah, like, let me know. I'll just read through some of the last comments now before I log off. So let's see what people are saying. Fun stream, not very focused as you said, but doesn't need to be. Just chatting Who and watching you bum about in Minecraft is fun. Yeah, I think next time I'm gonna try and play it when I'm hopefully not, like, so sleep deprived, and I might I'll try and find a better way to do the whole chat thing. Like, I might try and set more, like, specific goals, or maybe try and find a different, if I'm gonna do Doctor Who chat, I might try and find a different way of kind of, like, handling that so I don't bumble around so much. The time of Victorious could have been so cool if we saw maybe a more sinister version of the Doctor. Then he's just sad about doing it. I agree. It feels like there wasn't enough time to, like, fully flesh that out. Do you remember the BBC bite-sized Dalek game? Hell yes, I do. I remember the isometric Dalek game. That was, again, there was all those old Doctor Who games as well. A huge part of, like, that early Doctor Who experience. The classic Doctor Who website as well. Ciao. Yeah, thank you for tuning in. What are you called? Wolful Nation? Yeah, thanks for tuning in. It's been great having you here. Some great questions you've given. Thank you for tuning in as well. The Evil Dalek, I'm glad that you're still alive after 1966, or whenever that story was. 67, actually, I think. And done is better than perfect. Great advice. I wish I could learn to take myself. It's yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. That is good advice, and I should learn to take that. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you when I see you.